So it came out that I'm stumping for Dr. Abdul El Sayed. Obviously, that's a big deal. Apparently, I didn't know that it was going to be a big deal. I've been like, promoting candidates over and over again, but it is what it is. Oh, Rick Scott's bummed out again. That's so funny. Next time Democrats pick their latest radical spokesperson, they should do their homework. This guy urged his followers to kill me and celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder. Is that really who Dems want representing them? First time I saw Brace on your stream, I clutched my pearls, but that dude is hilarious and so smart. Yes, if I have good friends that I consistently keep up with, know that they're good peoples. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so yeah, not much going on. I worked out this morning. Had a bunch of different things going on. But yeah, I'm a chud-ass loser. You already know. Coming to you live from New York City, aka Mum Downtown, where DOT's been fixing all of our roads from lots of snow. Just wanted to share some positive news. Yeah, I saw that. He's filling all the holes, baby.
It's 2.5K.
What is this? John Kiriakou said that the collab is still happening. Yeah, I mean, hopefully. We'll see. I live in Michigan, but Abdul's campaign isn't breaking through. Why is that? I don't know. I think like CPC style politicking is like smart money is going to McMorrow. McMorrow. So, oh wow, it's heating up. It's heating up. The Politico playbook tossed my name in the ring. And it said, first in playbook, third way slams Piker. Hassan Piker's plan to stump for Michigan Democratic Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed is first reported in playbook this morning. Has some centrist Democrats up in arms. Playbook's Adam Wren reports. It is morally repugnant and strategically self-defeating for Democrats like Abdul El Sayed and members of Congress like Summer Lee to cozy up to anti-Semitic extremists like Hassan Piker. Third way President Jonathan Cowan told Playbook in a statement, anyone eager to campaign with Hassan Piker is at best comfortable overlooking his anti-Semitic and anti-American extremism and at worst endorsing it, Cowan continued. After voters in critical battlegrounds like Michigan believed in 2024 the Democrats were the more radical party, embracing extreme bigots like Piker, who for starters is called religious Jews inbred, and said, by the way, I love that this quote has like taken a life of its here. It's taken a totally separate life of its own. It was, I said the fucking the settler terrorists that were literally denying aid, like that were destroying aid at the point of delivery were inbred, which it's a fucking common.
I don't think that's it's.
Hold on. Oh, this is the one. Boom.
I'll give you the pass on that one.
No, I mean I call fucking Republicans inbred all the time.
No,
what do you mean? Like, what am I
they're
supposed
fucking
to not...
psychos. They're acting like freaks. Sorry, you're not doing it because they're fucking religious Jews. You're doing it because they're psychopaths.
Yeah, like I don't have any. I have much love for Neto Ricarda and like all the.
Also, whoa, hold on. There's a really great whopper that you didn't get to yet in that paragraph.
I didn't get to. Anyone eager to campaign with Hassan Piker is at best comfortable overlooking his anti-Semitic and anti-American extremism, and at worst endorsing it. Cowan continued after voters in critical battlegrounds like Michigan believed in 2024 the Democrats were the most. Wait, I didn't even blast off, by the way. I'm just like diving right into it. We got right into the action. Let me blast off real quick, and then I'll read the rest of this quote. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Also, urgent Bloomberg report saying that the Pentagon report the Ford aircraft carrier is suffering problems far deeper than the effects of a fire in the laundry room.
Let's go. Called it. I said it on stream yesterday. I want my flowers.
You did.
Give me my flowers.
You did.
Flowers, please. Flowers. Yeah, that's like fucking like I don't know what to tell you. A fire can I don't start it in a laundry room can obviously get out of control. Like they say, what was it? The Chicago fire started because a cow kicked over a lamp in a barn. Like I get it, but that seemed weird. That one seemed weird. God, that feels good.
Yeah. Anyway, hold on. I just blasted off. Order given, 82nd Airborne deploying to the region. Hell yeah, baby. Don't worry. I already put it on the blast off. Like clockwork all over the timeline. Yeah, Trey Easton was mad too.
Trey Easton?
Yeah. Like these
Trey Easton, who is like
no motion ass.
I was about to say
Democratic consultants.
Trey Easton, who's like Mr. like loves.
He should be Trey Weston, dude.
He's just such a.
He should change his direction.
Well, he also he loves to pop off about stuff that is just like very easy to come back. Like he was like, "Oh, we need to have like a common sense national security. We need to have all this, that, and the other." And then it's like, "Okay, let me look at what your employer has said about national security." And it's like, "Oh wait, you've been around for a year and a half, and you've no policy positions on this stuff." Like the only thing that you give a fuck about is like playing the centrist political game and dressing it up as being the only rational people in the room. Adam Gentleson, fraud watch. Trey Easton, fraud watch. No motion, no game. It's over. Just
they
stop.
never attack him this much before he started to get more directly involved in Democratic policies. They've also been attacking APAC tracker all week. Incidentally, I see this as a sign that they're being effective. Yeah, they are. Noah's leaving. Noah's running away. Noah is angrily running away. He doesn't want to be associated. He doesn't want the blowback.
Bullshit.
He doesn't want blowback to be associated with dangerous anti-Semites. But yeah, here we're blasting off, ladies and gentlemen. We're blasting off. Dangerous anti-American, anti-Semitic radical. What is this? You replied to this tweet, but who the fuck are these guys? It's Michael Moynihan. He's such a bitch. I said, get off my dick, Michael. Holy shit, we get it. You're a fucking libertarian. Go do something about American empire, you state asset. He's just like, he fucking hates me. I know because he talked to Brace about me too. He literally is one of these fucking weirdos who's just like constantly is like, oh, I'm actually a consistently, I'm a consistent principled libertarian. And as a consistent principled libertarian, my number one resentment is Hassan. It's fucking stupid. Yeah. Anyway, Glenn Greenwald defended you from that tweet. I know. Glenn Greenwald, the only libertarian, and even then he just still fucking does this bullshit where it's like, yeah, there's reasonable criticism. Like what? Like what? That I'm fucking rich? Shut up. Yeah, I got drip, man. What the fuck is this argument? The only libertarian I respect is Matthew Petty. That's it. Well, actually, that's not true. I really like the Cato guys on the immigration stuff too. They've really popped off.
Yeah, I mean,
they've been there. They've been there for a long time.
Well,
too.
they're like committed. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I worked with Michael briefly. I don't know him too well. I don't want to claim otherwise, but I think it was interesting that he used to do journalism and now he does this. Like,
yeah.
It's. I think it's a career whose achievements speak for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, so Gavin Newsom did an insane.
Oh yeah, Gavin Newsom, fucking Dreamboat Gav decided to just self-immolate. And that's what I don't understand. Is like, what does he think he's running for primary? Is he running for like the 2008 Democratic primary, the fucking like 1996 Democratic primary? Like, did he just like Rip Van Winkle it and suddenly he's here and he doesn't know what the fuck is going on? He doesn't know that everyone hates Israel.
Dude, it's because these guys literally don't sit in any rooms other than ones that are just completely captured by corporate interests and like foreign interests. You know what I mean? Like, it's just they do not encounter normal human beings ever. Like, they do not encounter a fucking voter.
You're saying, wait, hold on. You're telling me French Laundry Gav?
Yeah, it's just that's what it is. One upside, oh yeah, Ryan has been pissed off as well. But oh god, Matt Duss. Is he still coming on stream after this? I don't fucking know. I don't even give a shit, to be honest. But what a lot of these guys don't understand is that like the Republicans actually actively yelling at me and yelling at Abdul El Sayed is not going to work. It's going to have the negative. It's going to work in the exact opposite, where it negatively polarizes the base, and it makes the base tune into the candidate that they're attacking because they see it as like a fucking a point of fear. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that the Republicans are doing this. Of course, it's a little different when it's like centrist Democrats running along with these narratives as well. But yeah, Crystal Ball said Hassan derangement syndrome is out of control. Thankful that he and others made the choice to go to Cuba in an attempt to shine a light on the monstrous crimes of our government is committing in our names. People who are more concerned about a shirt or his hotel than the innocents we are murdering with our cruel blockade have completely lost their moral compass.
I mean, I think it's also just like everybody wants to talk about this because it's just a lot easier than talking about the actual like cruel inhumanity of the policy. And besides, that's boring. You know, that's like, oh wait, people suffering, that's boring and gay. It's actually like, you know,
no, I was talking.
It's just silly.
We
It's
were talking about
sad.
this last night. It's like or this morning.
Michael Moynihan once got paid to go interview people about things that went on in their lives and the reality in which they inhabited, and now he like yaps about shit on Twitter all day. Like I don't know what to say. Way it goes.
Hassan Piker, very popular political streamer who is an anti-Semitic streak. That's an understatement. Will be speaking at major political rallies in Michigan with a Senate candidate and member of Congress.
Oh well, Gabby Deutsch is a stupid streak. So
yeah, Gabby Deutsch, Jewish insiders coming hard, dude. Every single.
Sorry, you mean UAE? You mean UAE insider?
Okay, dude, I can't. I disavow this guy. He's Jewish. And that's why I'm disavowing him, because I'm an anti-Semite. Yeah, it's, you know, I've realized that if I have you or Felix next to me, I'm always like half of those clip moments are
they're because one of us is here. Well, that was like when what was it? And then there was the time when Ethan kept calling me Felix, or vice versa. I forget.
Yeah. This was the article. Opinion: Democrats are too cozy with Hassan Piker.
But again, it's like there's not like a all right, keep doing it. Like keep like I at this point I say, like, you know, as the person not the subject of all this, I say bring it the fuck on. Mainly because it's like, okay, like dig in on being on the losing side of like a 90-10 issue.
Yeah,
across both parties.
Unbelievable.
Like, you people are morons.
It's unbelievable, and they're doing it to someone who unironically spends a good deal of time. So much so that people are like, all right, bro, we get it. You know what I mean? Like even Kyle Kalinske was like, dude, stop throat clearing every time you have to talk about Israel by explaining over and over again that you're not an anti-Semite, that you combat anti-Semitism. It's just like the person they're coming after is actively fucking advocating against anti-Semitism. It blows my fucking mind. What is this? What do you want? Gavin Newsom says he looks like Batman. Is that what you're saying?
Patrick Bateman.
Or Patrick Bateman? Okay. Yeah, it's weird. He's being fucking weird. He's being a weirdo. These well-funded campaigns against you literally only have like 3 out of context quotes. Like all these freaks are banking on people just accepting what they say and not looking into it. Yeah, most people are not looking into it anyway, right? Most people are not looking into it. But the reality is most people don't care, because most people, when they hear that, they go, oh, this guy's an anti-Semite. Oh, you guys say that about every single person that's anti-Israel. That's like, that is the attitude, right?
Also, like, it's like really hard to take that allegation seriously when there are people who just like love going around and being like, oh, well, you're being very Jewish today or whatever. Like, there are people out there who like do and say and conform to all of like the, you know, like like they behave like anti-Semites. You know, they sound like they wouldn't have been out of picture in the 1920s. It's just that actually, like, the definition of anti-Semitism here is, as it has been, is like, no, it's that you dislike Israel and the Israeli government.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fucking annoying. My mom barely knows who I am. She does give a fuck about you. What does that even mean, dude? Yeah, it's like Joe Walsh. And this is how Democrats lose Middle America. Yeah, dude, Middle America, famously in tune with the needs of Israel.
Also, like fucking like Joe Walsh, famously in tune with anything. Like Tea Party politician turned never Trump has-been, who like only exists on social media to comment on a political system that has completely passed him by. Like, good luck.
Yeah,
cling to that relevancy raft.
Yeah. So
good luck.
I mean, this is the big initial story of the day. We'll start off here before we get to situation monitoring. Okay. Obviously, we're live. We're alive. We're blasting off. Let the people know. Epstein Fury Day 25. Iran, Israel energy strikes. Trump market manipulation. ICE agents at airports. No blockade. Republicans mad at me for hanging with Abdul al-Sayed. And and more. Lol, I just got here and I thought I accidentally clocked the VOD yesterday. Didn't expect 2 days of Noah. Yeah, no, he's here. Every stream is now Chad is just permanently posting every single tweet talking about Hassan that they can find. What an end to the cycle of this. Yeah, except this time it's in fucking Politico, dummy. It's not just like quote unquote drama.
Yeah, it is like kind of weird how this like went from like like a few days ago. I was like saying to you over text, like just like it's not that big of it. Like you don't have to like deal with this. And at that time, I didn't think so because it was just like a bunch of people like being annoying on the internet. But because Twitter is the assignment editor for the mainstream media, because editors at all sorts of prestigious and credible publications have lost the capacity to think for themselves, they see a bunch of people chatting about this and they decide, well, you know what? We're going to take some of the people whom we pay, full salaries to, and we're going to dedicate resources to finding out why exactly people are so mad that Hassan Piker wore a shirt to Cuba.
Yeah. So it starts off with Third Way slamming me, or it starts off with Adam Wren talking about how I'm stumping for Dr. Abdul Al Sayed. It's a first. I didn't even realize, right? I didn't realize that was a first for me because I've leaned into candidates and worked alongside them with fairly regular frequency, from Zoran Mamdani to numerous others. And I guess I just have never really done like a campaign spot, right? So that was a first technically. Dr. Jihad on the campaign run. So anyone eager to campaign with Hassan Piker, Third Way's response is at best comfortable overlooking his anti-Semitic and anti-American extremism, and at worst endorsing it. Cowan continued, the guy who wrote the Wall Street Journal op-ed. After voters in critical battlegrounds like Michigan believed in 2024 that the Democrats were the more radical party embracing extreme bigots like Piker, who for starters is called religious Jews inbred and said America deserved 9/11, is not only dangerous and wrong, but antithetical to the urgent work of winning over the middle and defeating Trumpism.
Now you get to the whopper.
Leaders of the center-left think tank in a recent Washington Post op-ed called Piker anti-American, anti-women, anti-Western, and anti-Semitic, and argued that Democrats have become too cozy with him. I've read that already on the article.
I think the center left think tank is doing a little bit of water carrying for them because I would love to know the number of registered Democrats in this country on a proportionate basis who would agree with like that assessment if presented with the information. I think that Third Way is like their job is like Third Way exists so that it can be described by political reporters as center left, even though the only thing left facing that those people probably do is like turning out of their driveway.
Yeah. El Sayed, the spokesperson, declined to comment. Third Way's lost the argument in the eyes of a lot of Democratic Party's base. Piker told Playbook, we can have a debate on how much influence they already had amongst the base in general, but they're losing their institutional relevance as well. Third Way has said they will spend $50 million to make sure the Democratic Party elects a combative centrist in 2028.
$50 million.
Yeah. All this
who
does,
could use $50 million?
all this does is make like what?
Son, you know who could use $50 million?
What, me?
No, people of Cuba.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Considering this has been their fucking attitude about you the last few days, why don't you take that $50 million and do something other than light it on fire in political advertisements and consultant fees and give it to people who need it? I thought that was the whole fucking line that those guys had.
I think they're trying to do to you what conservatives did to Fuentes in 2022 after the Trump dinner, but it obviously didn't work. Yeah, also, there's a major difference. I'm not a fucking anti-Semite, okay? I'm not like a hate monger. So you can try to present me out of context or like show, moments where I'm like I'm exaggerating or, moments where I'm attempting a joke that you literally rob the context of and then make it seem like I'm sincerely saying certain things. But at the end of the day, there's a very big difference between someone like Nick Fuentes and someone like myself. I don't shelter you from my perspective. I tell you what my views are. Okay? I tell you what my fucking views are. All the goddamn time. I'm an anti-Zionist. 400 like tweets. Surely they have clout with the Dems. It doesn't matter. These things add up. It shows up in people's fucking timelines. That's the reason why the New York Times wrote an entire article. That's the reason why the New York Times wrote an entire article about the flotilla, and I couldn't believe it that the article was actually just about, the shirt I was wearing and shit. It was fucking ridiculous. Do you understand? Like, because as Noah also was pointing out, as someone who's, been around the block and, worked at Vice and whatnot, he knows how these stories are written. Like people who choose which direction they want to take with these articles are still looking at Twitter, and it's a right-wing shithole, and that actually does frame their perspective a little bit.
And I would add also that like it's really difficult when we now have like when we have this like contemporary flavor of right wing, Twitter shithole, whatever, and it collides with these specific issues on foreign policy, on the places where American media, the American political establishment, and the American people are, as categories, all pretty ignorant, and the capacity for nuance, the capacity to introduce a perspective that exists outside of the previously defined parameters of discourse or whatever, it's something that they naturally reject. And so it's a lot easier. It is simpler to have a conversation about your t-shirt than to actually weigh the evidence of the question of what is the impact of American policy on these people, and does that suggest something about what the political incentives might be for people in this country to do about it? And instead it becomes a referendum on the behavior of you, or the fucking just a complete like a referendum on the behavior of the Cuban government, even though it's our policy that's the thing that you're trying to bring attention to in the first place.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I do take it one step further. Like, I think that as far as like governments go, like the Cuban government is nowhere near as repressive as like even Iran. And you know what my perspective is on Iran, especially with like our much more violent actions now.
I mean, but this is the comparison.
It's not even a thing.
Cuba's been at war for 60 years. They've been at war for 60 years.
They've been at war for 60 years, and even in spite of that, like their repression is like not even their repression. Like the way that they dealt with the protests took place. That's like a big point, right? It was like a first in Cuban history since the Cuban Revolution, where like a lot of people organized against the government and like protest the government, the SOS Cuba stuff, and that. Like, I was talking to journalists, like Cuban journalists that got arrested, and they were like, yeah, well, we've been around the fucking world, and in our coverage, like, even the apprehensions that took place were marginal in comparison to, like, what the fucking American police does in terms of, like, dealing with... Like, people don't realize that our police force is infinitely more ruthless than a lot of these other countries, right? That's why it's so strange when they were like, oh, you got detained in China. You got arrested in China. I'm like, motherfucker, I've been shot at like with rubber bullets by my own fucking police that I pay the salary of. What are you fucking talking about?
Also, like, I mean, one piece of it that drives me especially nuts on this level is that it's like, I don't know, like, has anybody been, I don't know about you, but I've been watching some of the news these last few months. And before the president of the United States unilaterally decided to, like, try and set off World War III around the Persian Gulf, there was this really big story about unaccountable, bloated law enforcement agencies in the United States running around killing people, randomly detaining them like masked men, like a neo Gestapo. I'm sorry, I just don't have like.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't mean to be like so totally whataboutish here, but it is like. There's a degree. It's a chauvinism. It's a chauvinism.
We have no leg to stand on. We have no room here to be like, wow, I can't believe it. It's like other countries are so repressive. And then what? Like what? That we have to fucking. And then what? That we have to starve them to like solve this problem? Like it's fucking. All of it is ridiculous. I'm not entertaining it at all. The only difference is Cuba has less American-style free political speech, which sure is a big difference, but it's not like Cuba is a tyrannical murder state. That
Correct. They do not have the same free political speech. And I would argue that, like, for the libs in particular, who focus on that question, it's like, all right, like, does Ukraine have free speech right now? Does Ukraine have elections? Like when
they're under invasion.
They're literally at war. I would say Cuba should I think Cuba has a very plausible case to say that they're in the same position. Not obviously the exact same position, but they're in the same position in that they've been targeted for, their government has been targeted for destruction for years and years and years on end.
Yeah, President Trump is participating in a swearing ceremony for the Secretary of Homeland Security, and he's taking questions right now. We're going to go into that right now.
Their nuclear potential. You would have had them having 2 weeks after that attack, had we not made the attack, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have absolutely used it. And they would have used it on the entire Middle East, including Israel. And you know why you see that? Because unexpectedly, when this war broke out, unexpectedly, they started sending missiles to UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and elsewhere. And nobody thought they were going to.
Activated your noise
equally
gate.
Surprised by that, Pete? Pete, do you want to give about a 3-minute statement on how we're doing in this?
Unexpectedly, they
As I
retaliated.
call it, military.
Unex-
operation.
We
People
thought they
don't
would
like
just
me using
die.
the
We
word
thought they
war.
would just like roll over.
You know,
and
the
die.
last
But
2
the
years they've been
Democrats
so
go to
nice
work.
to us.
Yeah.
How about a little statement? I think he's done a very good job.
Unexpectedly,
Do we agree
very
he's done a
wrong,
good job?
very
Oh,
unjustifiable.
look
Can
at
we
Pete.
take
He's
some
got,
of
he's
your
got the nice
time?
little. He's got the little glug glug twitch going. Little jumpy.
I gotta
Thank you,
pee.
Mr. President. You're spot on. Never in history has a modern military, Iran had a modern military, a modern navy, a modern air force, modern air defenses, leadership, massive bunker. Never has a modern military been so rapidly and historically obliterated, defeated from day one with overwhelming firepower.
Bro,
The
I
air
love
campaign
Trump's
that
face
we've
during
conducted,
this.
that Israel's conducted alongside us. Was
Look at
one
him.
for the
Just,
history books.
listen to Pete, but
That's
look at
because we have a
Trump.
president of the United States that when he sends his war fighters out to fight, he unties their hands to actually go out and close with and destroy the enemy as viciously as possible from moment one. And that's why we see ourselves as part of this negotiation as well. We negotiate with bombs. You have a choice as we loiter over the top
For
of
those of
Tehran,
you
as the president
watching
talked
who've
about,
seen this show,
about your
Justified,
future.
Pete Hegseth
The president has
really
made it
reminds
clear
me of
that you
Gary.
will not have a nuclear weapon. The War Department agrees. Our job is to ensure that. And so we're keeping our hand on that throttle as long as hard as is necessary to ensure the interests of the United States of America are achieved on that battlefield. This is not Iraq and Afghanistan. This is not a president who's interested in vague end states. He's been very clear with us about what we need to accomplish, creating the conditions for them never to have a nuclear capability, and that's exactly what we're doing in historic fashion. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, the only two people that were quite disappointed, I don't want to say this, but I have to. I said, Pete and General Raisin Kane, I think this thing's going to be settled very soon. Here they go. Oh, that's too bad. Pete didn't want it to be settled.
Smiling through it all.
These guys are
Yeah,
doing
things
good.
are
That's
great.
a good
It's
attitude,
fine.
though,
It's
Tom.
gonna be good. I
They were
promise.
not
It's gonna be
interested in
good.
settlement. They were interested in just winning this thing. Yeah, please.
Not doing international affairs for a second. Do you support the construction of the Second Avenue subway in New York City? And
I will say, I think it's a lot funnier that instead of one big mission accomplished banner, we have decided to roll a mission accomplished banner every single day while simultaneously saying mission not accomplished.
Like, I remember when Mission Accomplished happened when I was a kid. Like, I was watching, like, my parents were out. I was watching, cartoons or some shit with my sister. And then I remember it was like every network, everything was taken over, and it was for like this really boring bullshit.
Yeah.
And now that's just happening every day.
Yeah, every day. But every day is a new fun incident. Like every day is a day for victory. It's much better to have, at this point, 25 days of victory.
Has he said anything about, like, I don't know, like all the shit with the airports this week or anything?
I
know
don't
he was
think
like, I'm
so.
sending ice.
Well,
we're gonna
I don't think so, but like the Republicans are trying to like fix that by being like, see, ICE actually is solving the problem, even though they're just like dicking around.
You
And
saw the photo, right? There was a photo going viral of the the
all
candy,
of them on Candy
yeah,
Crush.
Candy Crush, and then like the line going down the block.
Yeah, all of them on Candy Crush, line going down the block, and then I believe they're also like apprehending people at the airport too, which is awesome. Great stuff. I mean, fantastic.
I mean, when I was flying out here, I saw a bunch of ICE guys. They weren't plainclothes because, I mean, for one thing, ICE agents are pretty easy to pick out of a crowd.
Because you're the fattest guy.
Well, it's like fat, tattooed, like they have the operator thing, and then
yeah.
also they're wearing like body vests in like. I mean, that's one thing I love is the guys who are wearing body armor in a fucking
Reconciliation. We're
airport.
certainly
Yeah.
talking about reconciliation, I think, Mark Wayne, right? Do you want to talk about that for a second? Now that he's working, we can get him to do this.
Thank you.
They're taking pictures of
Lindsey
everybody
Graham,
on the
the
airport
chairman,
for
where the committee-
Palantir.
where the,
Buddy,
reconciliation will
I don't know
follow
how to
through.
explain this to you, but Palantir's already been taking your photos at the point of entry.
Literally to go through TSA,
Yeah.
they have the I don't know.
If that
Yeah, I don't know if you know this,
Yeah,
but like,
the fucking like the
with
fat guy
funding
standing with his
ICE,
iPhone 6
possibly
going like
backfilling from the One Big
at
Beautiful
the
Bill,
security line is
but
doing
also,
the
Yeah,
work.
no,
importantly,
that's
the
been
Save
happening
America
already.
Act.
It's
There's
not
a framework that we can do through reconciliation, paying for it, put some of the
Trump.
policies
Iran
that
gave us a
cost
gift,
money
and the gift
in,
arrived today.
because
It's
there's
worth a
nothing
lot
more
of money.
important
I
than
won't
Save
say what the
America
gift
Act.
was,
And
but it
that's
showed me
what
that
the
we're
American
talking to the
people
right
want.
people.
There's
It
80% of the
wasn't related to
population say
nuclear
they
matters,
want,
but to oil and
that
gas.
only Americans voting, citizens that are registered to vote, citizens that have done it the right way. And I believe that everybody wants an election integrity. So fortunately, Lindsey Graham has said through reconciliation, he's willing to put the framework out for that.
Yeah, taxpayer dollars at work, baby. Look at that.
And I think that was said so
We can
beautifully,
be
so
zeros.
concisely, so well. Your
Just
father,
for one.
that we should
God,
let
they're
him
working
have
their
the
fingers to
last word.
the
That was it.
bone.
That was the last word. Did he do a
God
good job?
damn,
Are you
look at
impressed
these
with your
beautiful boys, dude. These big boys. The biggest of boys. They're so lovely. They're straight out of Central Casting. They're a little fat, but I still like it. I still like it. Big boys. Unc doesn't even follow back. Amit Segal? Why the fuck would I follow him back? The fact that he's following me is already a danger in and of itself.
Let's throw in Father Coughlin a follow back. Thanks for the love.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good, man. I think it's terrifying that him and like all the Jewish Insider guys like follow me.
Congratulations to you both. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Listen, the number one anti-Semite.
Yeah, that's why they're
Important.
following me.
Got to be watching. Eyes all the time.
Yeah.
Thanks. Come on in.
All right. Well, that was it. That was quick. Anyway, getting back to the other thing that we were talking about quickly and briefly. Obviously, like the hits keep rolling, but the Senate Republicans have come out and said anti-Semitic Abdul El-Sayed is campaigning with pro-Hamas influencer Hassan Piker in Michigan. So if Abdul El-Sayed is anti-Semitic, then it's a given that he's also stomping with another anti-Semitic Hamas supporter, right? Like, I mean, is this you're kind of busting a nut too early, it seems. These extremist views should never be allowed near the U.S. Senate. Brother, you are the Senate Republicans.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
calling someone on the Democratic Party side extremist is so funny when you are the Senate Republicans account. You know, we can see your other tweets, right? Yeah. Hassan Piker blames Israel for October 7 at Qatar's Web Summit. True. Okay. Yeah. Stand by that. But also, hold on. Where is it? Where the fuck was it? I lost it. God damn it. All right. Let's just fucking shut this shit off real quick. I love that these guys also say like a very popular Twitch streamer. Like they always have to glaze me too, because most people in their audience don't know who the fuck I am. So they have to like, increase the danger here.
No. That's a different thing. That's because they've got to make this world where everybody's like, they need to say like, hey, listen, you know what's very popular? Anti-Semitism.
You are not on camera right now.
Oh, whoops. They're saying you want to be anti-Semitic. I just don't want to eat on camera. It feels unseemly. Anyway, they say you want to they say that, oh, he's a very popular Twitch streamer, all this stuff. And it's a way of like trying to normalize the idea that anti-Semitism is everywhere in American life and that they're active Jew haters who are visible everywhere and that they need to be like called out for that. Like it's in this particular way. And it's like, I don't think it's like that's why I don't think that they're glazing you. I think the fact that they're talking about you is taken as evidence that you're somebody significant. Yeah. But it's that they want to convey this idea that there is like anti-Semitism, in every cupboard, under every bed, etc.
Yeah,
they want Jews to feel like their Jewish audience to feel scared. They want them to feel scared, and that there is an active threat to Jewish lives in America that, like, as we know, largely doesn't come from anybody who holds like identifiably left-wing politics. It does really typically come from the other end, to the extent that it exists.
Just make fucking drones. Leftist streamer Hassan Piker gives audience to suicide bombers in his audience. Gives advice. This article definitely was written. This headline.
Oh, that's Breitbart.
Yeah,
I recognize that. That's the Breitbart style guide sticks out.
They're saying that I have an audience of suicide bombers. The New Yorker trashed for inviting pro 9/11 radical Hassan Piker, who called Israelis inbred to speak at festival. Cheerleading for terrorism. Twitch star called for new 9/11. Dismissed horror of October 7. Called for new 9/11. Lefty influencer Hassan Piker kicked off Twitch after sick comments about DC Jewish Museum shooting. Remember,
it wasn't your comments. It was just because we were talking about you were showing the manifesto.
Yeah, but okay. I also don't have suicide bombers in my audience, at least to my knowledge. And I've never called for a 9/11 too.
That's true. You know what? I don't think that there are many suicide bombers in your audience.
FDD guy writes for the Real Daily Wire. The woke circus has Tom Piker
Sorry,
co-picking their
check
fellow.
out my first piece for Real Daily Wire. Is like one of that's like a
these guys are falling
like it's
off
like
the
you know
map.
like they say like the saddest short story ever written is baby shoes never worn.
Yeah.
like one of the worst threats that you can open a sentence with is my first blog for the Daily Wire folks is here.
Yeah. Piker stated that America deserved 9/11. El-Sad just blamed the Islamist synagogue attack in his state on Israel and called doing so leadership. I don't even know what Abdul El-Sad said about the synagogue attack, but I highly doubt that he was like,
No, of course, but
no person is like gonna straight up. I mean, even if there is an association that like every synagogue has with the fucking state of Israel, and it's like this unholy association that absolutely makes normies fucking go crazy in general because they just see transparently when you're like plastering the Israeli flag everywhere and saying like we're doing IDF donations.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. You think that Jews have something to do with Israel? Excuse me while I take off my full Israeli flag tracksuit that I have while I'm running around in a it's just so disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing is like the reason I say it's disingenuous is because I do actually think that they are aware that like this is like overheated rhetoric, let's say, but they believe that the only way that they can triumph is if they're able to like get one over on people by convincing them that there is this, again, like this insane deep, I mean, there is this deep threat from people like Hassan Piker teaming up with Abdul El-Sayed.
In any case, everyone's losing their fucking minds over this. Yeah, why is he still here and not deported? He's a terrorist.
Deported back to the place of your birth, New Jersey.
Yeah. New Democrats likely 2028 nominee President Gavin Newsom to sit for an interview with Muslim streamer who recently taught his viewers how to make suicide drones. Gavin Newsom is doing a podcast with Hassan Piker on the Hunt, who recently taught people how to make suicide drones with Twitch live stream. FBI Director Kash Patel, Gavin Newsom is amplifying a violent Turkish Muslim. How is this not a violation of U.S. statutes prohibiting material support for terrorism? It's so funny because the clip literally doesn't say what they think it says. Have you seen this?
No, but I'm sorry.
Literally being
Laura Loomer miss being
Canary Mission. This was where it came from.
I even all the better. It's crazy.
What are these fucking at Laura Loomer watermark Popstanox on the corner? What the fuck's going on?
It's like a joke that like Tom from Chapo would do.
Yeah, it's just like. It's so funny that these guys are all like, Hassan is teaching his audience of suicide bombers how to do suicide bombings when it's me literally saying commercial drones have rendered suicide bombing a relic of the past. It makes no sense. When I was talking about like the Taliban, saying that they, to the Pakistani government, like, oh, you have nukes, but we have suicide bombers. I was like, bro, you're just LARPing at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you could just go and purchase commercial drones, and for the price of like $11,000. Like, there is like shit that you can find on TikTok is crazy.
It's a new epoch we're in. Like, there was that guy who's the clip. I hadn't seen this channel before, but the one Scahill was on. What's his face? Deep Dive. Daniel Davis.
Oh, Daniel. Yeah.
And it was like the logo for his whole channel is a quadcopter.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Like I said, I'm shocked that Canary Mission and Laura Loomer, such upstanding citizens, would misconstrue what you were saying.
Yeah. In any case, it's really funny that they're chirping, but it's just not. It's utterly irrelevant noise, background noise, and I think most people understand that this is just like another line of attack because I don't represent like Israel first politics, and that's precisely what it is, right? Because like that's just how these guys operate. It's like, oh, if you're not doing Israel first politics, like then you're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. You're a danger. You're an ever-present danger, and you need to be stopped. These same people who make beeper jokes, yeah, exactly. Anyway, whatever. The Canary Mission shit, I'm not even going to get into. It doesn't matter. It's old news. But it is funny that there is like now a coordinated attack with all the Never Trump Republicans and also all of the third way liberals and the entirety of the right is just like losing their fucking mind.
There is one thing that's worth actually emphasizing about this, which is like, all right, why is like the third way think tank, which plans to spend $50 million, so a deeply well-resourced organization, you know, flush with like, you know, like billionaire money, whatever. Joe Walsh, like why do all these people like why are they going after you for this, whether it's the campaigning with Syed or the Cuba stuff, whatever. And I think on some level, part of it is just that now they're like they can't actually argue these things on the idea level anymore. They can't try and put forward like a program that says, well, here's like what an alternative, better perspective should be. So they can only look for avatars of the politics that they're opposed to and do everything they can to delegitimize those avatars by any other means. To say that they're actually, you know, unserious, you know, they support extremism, that they foster a certain kind of hatred. And they have to do all that because, again, now more than ever, more than any other time in my life, particularly when it comes to matters related to Israel, on any other issue, there's never been anything like this where they just can't talk about the issue itself. It has to be anything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's crazy because everyone is talking about it. Like, that's why it's like the ground has shifted under them and they are completely unable to address that reality. So they think they can do business as usual, like smears and outrage manufacturing.
Yeah.
But the ground has shifted on that issue as well. Like the whole, oh, look at this out of context clip. This guy needs to be canceled. Like it doesn't work anymore in general for every other issue. Not just, especially for this one, because it's so commonly deployed that people are just like, you say that about everybody, right? But it's very obvious. It's very obvious that like both the woke scolding and the cancel culture narratives don't work, even though the Republicans are trying to actively deploy it. And in particular on the Israel issue, when you do that, everyone knows exactly what's up. I personally don't enjoy it. I will say, you know, sitting in my position, I don't like that, you know, from Andrew Cuomo's failed mayoral campaign to, you know, all these other fucking people. Like these are Israeli agents, right? Like these are organs of propaganda for the Israeli state.
And
Canary Mission,
and
they get subsidies from the Israeli
and they try to hide, or if they're not like directly by the Israeli state, like Canary Mission investigative journalists have found like it's gotten a bunch of money from the Milsteins, and like they, you know, again, many of the influential billionaires and others who fund pro-Israel organizations and are obviously like working in some measure with the Israeli government, like these are they operate from the shadows because they know what they do is so silly and dark and unjustifiable on its own terms, and in a civilized country would probably be against the law.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that, you know, I'm in the crosses of a fucking very powerful foreign state that has outsized influence on American domestic affairs and certainly American foreign policy. But I do think that Abdul al-Sayed's biggest issue right now is his lack of name recognition internally in Michigan. And I think this kind of like unlimited attack against them is going to boost his profile. It's like perfect. It's a perfect way to make him more prominent. So I think this is going to be good overall. When all of these fucking losers are chirping about Abdul al-Sayed, people are going to be like, yeah, there it is. No, it's not because you're a threat, bro. You're the only guy. I'm not. I'm just a megaphone.
In the case of Canary Mission, like Canary Mission goes after many people who are just, you know, like if you were a college student who was a member of your SJP chapter, you know, at Tufts in 2015 or something, and now you're a social worker or something, congratulations. You may also have a page on Canary Mission that smears you as an anti-Semite and a Jew hater. The difference is just that obviously like Hassan is somebody with a much larger individual profile than them, but they go after everybody. They do not discriminate. I do also think that there is now too, like, again, like we were saying, because they can't talk about the issue and they have to argue about literally everything else, they're just going to lean harder and harder on this, and they're going to raise the salience of the issue in the worst possible way. I don't know. I agree with you that I think that they're just making their situation worse if this is their strategy. unless they successfully work the refs, because that's what that's perhaps one of the other goals here.
No, they're working the referees. They're actively trying to get, like, this kind of stuff will cause, maybe not Abdul, but like other other like established higher profile left flank candidates to like shy away from openly associating with me because they don't want the headache, right? And yes, of course, I'm talking about, Zoran or AOC. I don't think Bernie gives a shit necessarily. He is 800 years old. He doesn't care. He has his own opinions. I have my own opinions. We have some disagreements, but it doesn't matter. There's a mutual respect there. But like, ultimately, they can't actually change the attitude of the base. They can't do that. They've lost that, right? But what they can do is try to get Democrats to not associate with someone who is a fairly large megaphone for the attitude of the base, and therefore make it seem, at least in the political class, as though this is still unacceptable. This line of communication is unacceptable, which is, in my opinion, abso-fucking-lutely a mistake for the Democrats. I don't give a shit if Democratic Party politicians don't want to associate with me. I don't give a shit about that at all. I know a lot of people really care about that, especially these fucking loser ass like Democratic Party mouthpiece, like DNC mouthpiece influencers, that all they care about is like access. I don't give a fuck. I have the platform, and unironically, it's not necessarily great content when I'm doing these sorts of interviews. It's not great content for me at all. It's not what I like doing. It's not what I'm good at particularly. I do it because I want to help out these people, right? And even if I never did another interview with another candidate, or never actually associated with another candidate going forward from this point on, it wouldn't change anything from my perspective, right? It would not change anything at all. So just join us on getting triggered by shitlibs again. It's not just shitlibs; it's the entirety of the Republican Party that's coming after me and Abdul Sayed. I'm going to say the entire Israel First Republican Party is actively coming after me and Abdul Sayed today. This kind of outrage manufacturing and false smears no longer work. Americans have woken up. That's fine. Americans have woken up to the reality that we must stop Israel.
One edit.
What?
Add an S to work. Because it's this kind of.
Wait, where is it?
Where it says no longer work, make it works.
Oh, false smears no longer works. Yeah. Oh, true. Americans have awakened to the reality that we must stop Israel. There it is. Boom. Human Grammarly. Yeah. I mean, he is my editor. So, sitting right next to me. Speaking of people you need to talk to, Melik Kuros and CO1, she got a boost from Rokana this weekend. Yeah, I saw that. The entire GOP party is gross. Who identifies GOP? They have an internal processing issues. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking shit about Abraham Lincoln? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, go off.
The smears aren't working with Zoran either. Yeah, I mean, it's not, of course.
Yeah, I actually think that this is like Zoran is kind of a good way of illustrating this, where it's like, this isn't about like glazing Zoran, but it's about how if you occupy a certain kind of lane, which is to say that like, you don't really, you don't really give in all that much, like you still like, you still have dinner with Mahmoud Khalil and so forth, and you still represent that your position on the issue, your positions on this issue have not really changed.
It doesn't work on Plattner either.
Exactly. It doesn't work, and so they're now they're running scared, and that's part of why this is, by the way, this is the same reason, by the way, like they don't know how to hit. They really have no idea how to hit like a Carlson or Fuentes, because it's the same problem.
Yeah. This is disgusting. Matt Bennett, Third Way Matt. This is disgusting. Third Way Matt getting retweeted by Reagan Battalion. I mean, that's it. That's all you need to see.
Yeah, center left.
Yeah, this kind of like center left shit slingers, dude. Oh my God. I think if Democrats are smart, which they're not, Many of them are not, unfortunately. Many of them are very biased, right? Many of them are also totally invested in what Trump is doing in Iran. But if Democrats actually want to win, this is not even about fucking embracing someone like myself. I don't give a shit. Like I've said that already. It's worse for my quote unquote brand if I don't really necessarily care about that sort of thing. But if it's worse for my brand that I associate with Democrats and vice versa, right? And the thing is, if Democrats don't lean in and lead on the anti-Israel issue, they are going to lose the conversation to grifters on the right who will take on that mantle.
Yeah.
And there are those who are doing that already. Another fucking alarm bell that I'm ringing. There were many warnings that I gave to the Democrats, and every single one of them panned out. Every single one of them materialized. Okay? Every single one. And I'm warning again, just as I warned both Ro Khanna and members of the DNC over and over again, if you concede to the Republicans on this stuff, if you concede to the Republicans on the framing of like immigrants constituting a national security threat, you're going to lose. If you don't say anything about Israel, if you don't actually decouple from Biden and Biden's Israel policy, you're going to lose. Okay? If you come out and continue, to defend Israel in the campaign, you're gonna, if you come out as like more militant on America's like adventurous policies around the globe, Republicans are going to be able to present themselves as like the peace party, and you're going to lose. All of those things happen.
Yeah, like that's a good Trump has started the Iran war, and there is a real chance that in 2028 a Republican candidate for president could plausibly run as a peace candidate. I'm not saying they are a peace candidate. I'm not saying that they're right,
yes,
obviously, but it's that they can get away with it. And it's partly because like Democrats will just like lie and roll over on this messaging every time, but also because the last time Democrats were in power and a presidential administration that like they haven't appropriately rejected, not unlike every aspect of the Biden administration, but particularly its foreign policy. There's now, it's like the stench is still there. It's March of 2026. It's been a year and a half since the election, and it's unbelievably confusing how, what the Democratic position, what a Democratic party position is supposed to be about what it is that, what exactly is our foreign policy here?
Yeah.
Is it just a nicer Trumpism essentially?
Yeah, it's like Trump, but like with the appropriate process. What Trump is doing is good. It's just we don't like the way he's doing it. We don't like the way he's conducting himself. And like, you don't understand. People voted for Trump to behave in this unorthodox manner. Okay. If you're just simply defending the process, you come across as an institutionalist at a time when people are demanding that the institutions fall apart. You don't read the room and you don't have an adequate line of defense. If you concede to the actions that Trump is committing, where you justify it, where you say like, oh, well, Iran is a ruthless, tyrannical government. Of course, we're happy that like the Ayatollah is assassinated, but we just don't like the way he went about it. Well, you're a fucking idiot then. Like, you're literally telling everyone that you agree with Donald Trump and he did the brave thing, and he did it in a way where it was much more successful than whatever wishy-washy centrist bullshit you were going to do.
Also, it is like, I think some of it is like process is not, I will say this, I have a slightly more generous interpretation of some of the process stuff, which is that I believe that liberals go to the process critique because of not necessarily an opposition on the moral grounds, but because for the last quarter century, even with the disaster of the Iraq War and so on, the left in this country has never been given the grace of, of setting a foreign policy agenda, even in opposition, right? It's always been, different shades of neocon thought, I think, arguably. And so to me, there is this like, I don't know how, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Like, to me, there isn't like the process. Actually, here's how I'd put it: the process critique. It's when you're rummaging around in the drawer for how you're going to respond to something. It's the biggest tool. It's the first thing that your hand finds. And part of like what the obligation is of people who think correctly and have political ideals that you agree with is that they've just got to make their answers the biggest, best, most appealing, and only useful response to the crisis. How much agency people actually have to make that the case, I have no idea. That's it's the test of politics. But it is, to me, the only way in which you are able to win people over is to convince them, no. It's forget the process stuff. You've got to just like say that more war is bad. Putting plowshares into bombs is bad. We're destroying our way of life. You've got to open people up to this a bigger, more developed, I think, understanding of what a left foreign policy could be, other than just, tepid opposition to what the Republicans do when they're in power, and then soft continuations of their policy when Dems are in power.
Yeah. And here is the perfect representation of Democrats not taking ownership over this unimaginably popular bipartisan idea amongst the base of support, and a right-wing grifter taking advantage of that messaging vacuum. Tucker Carlson versus the Economist.
Clearly, I think you and I agree. We have both been critical of the Israeli government. I just want to kind of clarify terms a bit here.
Well, I've really been critical.
Tucker taking a second there to be like, do I say it? Yeah, I'm going to say it. Like, you can just see, because it's like it's like a 98 mile per hour fastball, middle of the strike zone. Like, come on, lady. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Your editors were caping for Israel immediately after October 7th.
And I've told you at the beginning that we were against this war.
What do you think of Gaza?
What do I think of Gaza?
Yeah.
I think the war in Gaza, to start with, was a perfectly reasonable response in response to the horrors of October 7th. I think now the places, I've been there. Have you been to Gaza? I've been to Gaza since the war started.
They would not
it's
let
catastrophic.
me into Gaza. Trust me, very few journalists get into Gaza.
Yeah, no, I went with the IDF. It's the only way that you can go in, but nonetheless you go in and you see a flattened place. I think it is a disaster for the future of Israel, a disaster for the Palestinian people, a horror, 70,000 people dead.
Why would you describe it first as a disaster for the future of Israel?
Oof, such a good
tens of thousands.
That's a bar. Like, this kind of shit is endlessly appealing to the average person because they understand it. They understand what's going on. They already had their suspicions, many of which would have been considered anti-Semitic. These suspicions would have been considered anti-Semitic not that long ago. But now it's the majority suspicion, right? It's the majority opinion. It's the majority suspicion. And it's correct. It's correct to raise that question, to be like, why do you say Israel first? Oh, it's a disaster for Israel? Tough titties. Would you say World War II was a disaster for the Nazi Germany project first before you have a conversation about like the Holocaust, before you talk about the real victims? It's fucking ridiculous, right?
Thousands of civilians murdered, but it's foremost a disaster for the future
No,
of
I didn't
Israel.
say
No, it's
foremost.
foremost a disaster for the families of the dead kids.
I made 3 points.
Because
let me
everybody
just
sucks up to Israel in this way that suggests they're afraid. And everyone is afraid, and you know that. Everyone's like, the real problem is calling people anti-Semites allows real anti-Semites to flourish. It's like,
Okay,
no, actually, the real problem with calling people anti-Semites who aren't is accusing the innocent of a crime they didn't commit. And the real crime in Gaza is killing people who did nothing wrong. So those are the real problems, I would say. But no one can say it because you have to be like, oh no, but really, October 7th
I don't know what you're talking about, Gaza. We're having a
Everyone watching this knows what I'm talking about.
It's true. Yep. It's true. Like, he's cooking. He's fucking absolutely cooking, okay? It's ridiculous. And it's one of those things where in the room, you might think, depending on the rooms that you are in, you might think, oh, you're saying the right things for the watchers of the Economist, right? But in the outside world, this video is going to be published. And when people see this video, they're not going to agree with you. They're not going to look at you as like a person who actually is doing a great job holding, Tucker Carlson to account. This shit's going to go fucking viral.
Because there is, by the way, like where you could have a dialogue with Tucker Carlson about how, hey, listen, you talk about all this stuff and you talk such a huge fucking game about how much you hate Israel. And yet, like, You know, you go to the White House, you still have a relationship
Yeah.
with the people whom you condemn as like being handmaidens.
The number one antidote, the number one fucking counter for the likes of Tucker is literally to say, you've been very critical of the ethnic supremacy that Israel represents, and yet you've spent an entire lifetime making similar arguments about making America the exact ethnic enclave that you want to design it as, where you talk about legacy Americans.
I mean, I think
He has no answer for that. Like, because these guys at the end of the day want Israel, but for their in-group in America.
Also, I would add one other piece to that too, which is that they want Israel for their own in-group, but that they know that the only way that they can get to that, like at this moment, like right now, because this is the most visible thing about Tucker's politics right now. And when I hear from people anecdotes about family members who are getting turned on to some, like, you know, weirder political takes, let's say, a lot of it does come through like this exact, you know, I mean, like libs love the phrase like radicalization pipelines and sort of figurative language like that to describe what's going on. But I mean, like, this is how it happens because somebody like him is able to, I mean, like essentially speed run past these contradictions because they recognize the incredible, I mean, like this is low hanging fruit. This is the easiest issue on which you can outflank the political establishment, no matter what side you're on.
Especially because my big fear is that Tucker Carlson is actually winning favor with liberals. He's not actually winning favor with the Republicans. Like, there are still Republicans who respect him, right? They might have a disagreement with him on Israel, but they still respect him nonetheless. And those Republicans might actually play ball if Tucker Carlson is the next candidate, right? Because maybe they place a higher degree of priority on like making America a WASP nationalist country, which is Tucker Carlson's primary purpose here. And what's terrifying about this is he's actually reaching to the other side of the aisle and winning favor as an earnest communicator against Israel at a time when the National Party is not doing that, because there is unfortunately a massive information and leadership vacuum on the issue of Israel, okay, on the Democratic Party side. This is a huge problem, and I don't think people are recognizing that this is a huge problem. It's very frustrating. Those liberals aren't liberals because you don't know who Tucker Carlson is at this point. I don't know what to tell you. Brother, I think you're oblivious to how little people pay attention. This is a highly clippable, highly salient, very viral moment. They see that, and that's all they know about Tucker Carlson, and that's it. And the only reason why Tucker Carlson gets to be this guy, the only reason why he gets to be this person is because, unfortunately, in spite of the fact that this is a 90 to 10% issue on the Democratic base of support, the party is not acting like it's a 90-10 issue. Okay, that's it. When Chuck Schumer comes out and says, like, my primary purpose is to defend Israel, I'm going to make sure that Israel gets all the funds it needs to continue waging its war at a time when Americans are totally aware of what's going on in terms of Israel taking the driver's seat on our Middle Eastern policy. It's the Democratic Party is not even doing, is not even leaning into their own base. They are,
and also like Tucker's like asking questions. So it's like, is Tucker Carlson a Zionist? Like we literally the Gavin Newsom. That's essentially what he's, you know, he got asked more similar questions by Politica, where he talks about how he is a Zionist or whatever. And I think that like if you're going to do the split screen of how politicians in the Democratic Party, how high profile figures are responding in this moment, it like, you know, it hews closer to the Gavin Newsom side of the spectrum, where it's like halting criticism of the state of Israel combined with an affirmation in the an affirmation of the underlying ideology for it. And I think for somebody like Tucker Carlson, it just seems extremely clear. Oh my God, that is wild.
Tucker Carlson has a minus 27% approval
I did not
rating.
realize it was that negative.
Nick Fuentes has a minus 6%. What the
Okay, but look at the name. That's not, you can't do Nick Fuentes.
Clavicular has a minus 2% because they don't have name recognition.
They've none. The Tucker Carlson thing,
am I on this list? I'm surprised that they didn't put me on this list, considering that they fucking... Zohran Mamdani's only at +1. That's crazy.
What's the source for this?
I don't know.
Yeah, James Fishback at an 11 to 7 + 4.
Yeah. What is this? National polling by TPSI official. Jeffrey Epstein is at a +12 approval. Wait, what?
No. That's a lie. He's down. He's the -70.
He has a 12% approval.
But
Who
that's
the
what I mean.
fuck?
I mean, I like these kinds of polls.
Nah,
to me
this
always,
poll is bullshit. There's no shot. There's no fucking shot.
I mean, directionally, I think that there's a lot of truth to it. But that's kind of it.
yeah, no shot. 12% approval for Jeffrey Epstein. Look two above Zoran, Charlie Kirk at +3. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. This and James Fishbag has a higher approval. Aiden Ross has a higher approval than Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, this poll sucks dick, brother.
I like 50 public figures. They went with 50. Also, I love who's in this. That's a politician. Gretchen Whitmer.
Ben Shapiro at +8. Kai
Mark
Cenat at +9.
Mark Levin at +7 is pretty funny.
Yeah, no, this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous poll. Throw
Pete
it in the...
Pete Buttigieg happy with
Was
it.
this polled in Tel Aviv? Yeah. This poll coming to you straight out of Tel Aviv, baby.
It's yeah, because that actually is like Netanyahu.
It's the best poll. You are an anti-Semite if you do not like this poll.
Listen, in Israel, sometimes we have a poll. I mean, he does. I actually realized last night how much Netanyahu sounds like Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, and he also behaves like him too, so it's perfect.
Step out of your car, sir.
Yeah.
The Palestinians
Epstein would
will
be
not step out of their car.
Epstein would be +90 if this was polled in Israel. True. That's how we know it's not polled in Israel. You're right, Chatter. Why would...
Mr. Arafat, I'm asking you to flip a coin.
Ross Barker says, I had a very good conversation with a very prominent right-wing person recently. Won't say who it is, but it was for a book I'm doing. And he said, flat out, conservatives who do not know how to hit Zoran Mamdani, they're outflanked the way Trump used to outflank the left. Yeah.
I think that's right. I think that
they don't know because he's doing the
Trump.
method.
Trump like supported the Iraq War. Trump was
doing
like,
the
we need 1 million dead Iraqis. And then he's like 10 years later, he's like, actually, we went into Iraq. It was an awful mistake, and it worked for him. It worked. It didn't matter that he was lying. Partly because it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Look at what Tucker is doing and what Zero Dems are doing. Yeah, I mean, Tucker Carlson visiting the Palestinian refugees in Qatar who were wounded during the Israeli genocide in Gaza.
And by the way, people around the world see this. I
Yeah.
think that it's one of the things that I actually really resent about the people don't know who if you don't know who Tucker Carlson is by now, you're a fucking rube. It's like, all right, I'm sorry that 7 billion people around the world did not watch Crossfire in the fucking 2000s.
Or like his 2016 run on Fox News where he's on a tear about leaning into straight up white supremacist narratives.
When he was doing his nightly,
and he won that too. The Republican Party does great replacement theory messaging with regular frequency. When at a time when Tucker Carlson was doing it, he was first to market in such a position of prominence, right?
all right, I'm gonna go now.
Okay. That was a big fucking deal, guys. That was a big fucking deal when Tucker Carlson did that shit. I remember I covered it. I covered it extensively. That was new. And now it's no longer an issue at all for many prominent Republicans.
Bye, chat.
All right, Noah's out for now. He might be here later. Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's just like all the NRSC, Sarah Gallagher from the NRSC, the Senate Republicans, meet Hassan Piker, the pro-Hamas influencer Abdul El-Sayed is partnering with Michigan. Hassan doesn't have an issue with Hezbollah. Doesn't matter if Hamas raped Israeli women because the Palestinian resistance is not perfect. It's fucking bullshit. It's like I said, that it doesn't make genocide appropriate or acceptable. Praise for the brave terrorists who wounded Representative Dan Crenshaw. Hasanabi removes Jewish man from his broadcast at Jewish Insider. Yeah. Notes from New York City, right? Yeah. Yeah, they're hitting every angle as of late with both the Cuba stuff and reheating the same old nachos about fucking how I'm a terrifying figure that Democrats shouldn't associate with. I think Democrats are fucking stupid if they don't. I don't necessarily give a shit one way or another, but even if they don't associate with me necessarily, they should still embody this message. Okay. That's it. This is where the base is. Okay. This is where the fucking base is. Sure. They can point to some of the more radical sounding narratives that they can clip out of context or whatever the fuck. Right. Not starting drama on Blue Sky. Republican Joe Walsh mentioned you were bad, of course, and Dems need to be more moderate. Yeah. These guys are fucking infiltrators. Okay. I'm going to repeat my, take over and over again. But these people are infiltrators. They do not have the best interest. They do not have your best interest in mind. They are infiltrators in the Democratic Party. Okay? That's it. And they've been able to slowly but surely pick apart the institutions, demanding more moderation for a fucking mythical base of support that does not fucking exist. And that is precisely the reason why Kamala Harris lost. Okay? They have so successfully infiltrated the Democratic Party, and the Democrats were totally willing. They were totally willing to get this fifth column style infiltration, ironically enough. It's unfucking believable, dude. Unbelievable. Next time Democrats pick their latest radical spokesperson, they should do their homework. The guy urged his followers to kill me and celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder. Is it really who Dems want representing them? Rick Scott crying again. Democrats did do their homework. They do want to kill you like they killed Charlie Kirk. They want to assassinate President Trump. These guys are fucking hallucinating. They're such psychopaths. All they're doing here is elevating. Yeah, when did you celebrate? I didn't, but they're lying. Who gives a fuck? They lie all the time. Also, by the way, your boy has motion. A photo of Hassan was spotted on display at a tailor shop in China. And they put me right there prominently. The shop owner left a comment on my BDBD channel inviting Hassan to get another suit next time he's in China. 2 sets of youth suits. 2 sets of youth suits. That's what it, I guess, says on the top of it. Is that what it is? No clue how the Jeb Bush operative got so popular with Liz, even after he tried to rat fuck Zoran. I mean, because the thing is, these guys also kind of like it. They kind of like it. That's the whole point. Do you expect Trump to ever mention you? I think Trump shies away from such things. Kind of like the same with like Zoran. On morning of November 14th, 2025, Hassan Piker, an American internet celebrity, Twitch streamer, and left-wing political commentator, along with more than 10 others, visited a Mayan clothing store to learn about the meaning behind the various parts of a Zhongshan suit and ordered 3 Zhongshan suits and 2 sets of youth suits. That was the translation? Hell yeah. Fox News was talking about it yesterday, yeah, but it was butt-felt, so it's like irrelevant, no motion. Hassan Piker, very popular political streamer who also has an anti-Semitic streak. That's an understatement. We'll be speaking at major political rallies in Michigan with a Senate candidate and a member of Congress. This is how Dems lose middle America. This is how they lose everyday Americans, by embracing a dictator-loving communist, embracing America-hating, Jew-hating anti-Semite like Hassan Piker. Democrats have allowed the party to be subsumed by Lincoln Project types. They want the Reagan Republican Party versus the Trump's Republican Party, and the Dems are more than happy to let it happen. Yeah, it's very, very frustrating. It's very frustrating to watch it unfold. But yeah, there is a coordinated Zionist and right-wing push to attack Hassan this morning. And it's true. And it's coming specifically because of the political reporting, because this is what they tune into. Greg Gutfeld's meltdown about you was pretty funny. Yeah. Oh, that's the Cuba stuff. That was the Cuba stuff, which Greg Gutfeld also leaned into.
Cuba.
Commie Club Med, the 5-star revolution. Like, I don't think these people understand. This wasn't like a fucking tropical getaway in an island. Okay? We were there for a very specific purpose. And obviously they understand what that specific goal was because they're actively choosing to undermine it, right?
Sunglasses. Why didn't these activists invite Cubans to stay in their hotel for the night? I'm sure a few did, but only after requesting hookers in Spanish.
Oh, gross.
You want a glimpse of a Yankee douchebag? Here's one.
Tourism is the lifeline for the Cuban economy as it stands currently. The government has very limited resources, and the American government makes it illegal for Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba. They have to stay in what they've declared as 5-star hotels. In comparison to the situation on the island, it's prosperity pretty much, and experiencing that dichotomy is like definitely me up. Definitely.
Now, nothing he said is true.
That's insane. I love that. In most instances, it just doesn't even fucking matter. Like, what the words that are coming out of my mouth doesn't matter at all. Right? Everything I said is correct. Everything I said is true. They'll just simply say, oh, you could stay at an Airbnb. How are you going to put 600 people in an Airbnb when the island doesn't even have fucking a reliable energy grid? There aren't 600 different Airbnbs that you can assign for 600 people that are coming from all around the fucking world. There aren't that many Airbnbs. It's so stupid.
But we got to replay that last part.
Experiencing that dichotomy is like definitely me up. Definitely.
You couldn't have done that better if you scripted it. I bet he has a Grey Poupon suppository.
Like, I don't understand. I'm literally not even in the hotel here, for the record. I'm at a friend's house, okay? This was a local's home that I'm in, okay? And not only that, but like, yeah, Ryan Grimm made me a fucking coffee. Are they saying it's because I'm drinking coffee like a gay guy? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, yeah, it's a tiny cup, man. I'm a massive guy. It's a Cuban coffee. What the fuck's the problem? This reminds me of enjoy your fancy burger, Mr. President. Yeah.
Up his butthole. By the way, his glasses cost $1,400.
Yeah, broke boy. What's up? Yeah, I got swag, bitch. What are you going to do about it? Suck my dick.
10 times the average Cuban salary and 4 times what I pay my right.
Dumbass, anything that you wear is going to be like 3 times the average Cuban salary. It's a very poor island. We've kept it poor. That's the point. We've literally destroyed their economy through economic terrorism. It's fucking ridiculous. You could make that argument for every single thing that every single person that is like visiting the island is wearing. It's so fucking stupid.
Of course, they're also meeting with Communist Party officials because nothing screams grassroots rebellion like schmoozing with the government militants. I can't wait for the Yelp review, not for the hotel, but for the government. 5 stars, very attentive dictatorship, great gulags, chilled shrimp, could have been colder. But that's the left. They don't want to live under socialism. They just want to visit. Fly in, take pics, and leave before the lions, or in this case, reality, eats them. Hell, if they stayed longer, they'd find out that in Cuba, vegan means we can't afford meat.
Yeah, they're so gross, too. Like, the way they talk about the Cubans, the way they talk about these wonderful fucking people, okay? Like, there is like this very clear, like, they're primal animals. They're gonna fucking eat them alive. Like, it's fucking insane, dude. They make it seem like the Cubans that we were connecting with, the Cubans that we were like hanging out with, were all like primal animals. Like they're all just so angry. They're so angry that these disgusting Americans are running around. It's fucking gross, and a lot of people don't even see that. Like a lot of people don't even comprehend that is the argument, the narrative that they're presenting is that like they're all savages, right? Nasty as fuck. They don't even like they literally deny personhood to the average Cuban person. They make it seem like if Cubans are participating in like a government funded festival or like a government run festival that like Kneecap is performing at for free, they say, oh, they duped them. They bribe them with cookies. It's nasty. You think these people don't experience joy in spite of the fucking conditions they're subjected to, you fucking animal?
Fact is, Cuba's been struggling with power and basic services for decades. You know, the stuff that happens when the government controls everything and produces nothing. But these activists can't admit that. So instead, they play Che at the Four Seasons.
Yeah, they couldn't spin this narrative for your China trip, which was actually a tourist trip. But when you deliver humanitarian aid to the country, they put an embargo, they have to give the spin. Exactly. When I visited China, that was literally just a tourist trip. Like there was no other like humanitarian aid component. Obviously, it'd be ridiculous to deliver humanitarian aid to China. China should deliver humanitarian aid to us, right? Is it a good thing that they're covering you? This is the only time they're talking about Cuba? No, I think that's cope. I've seen a lot of like kind-hearted individuals, including those who participated in the fucking flotilla, that oh God, sorry. I got hit with a message. There are a lot of kind-hearted people that think, that this is somehow good. I think that's cope, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think we have to reframe the narrative. I think we have to reframe the message here. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they are very actively trying to dilute. It's not all publicity is good publicity. They're very clearly aware that the goal of this humanitarian aid mission was not only to deliver humanitarian aid in person, which is one of the only ways that you can do that, by the way, but also on top of that, to bring awareness, to bring awareness of the conditions that Cubans were facing. And instead of having that conversation, they're actively trying to have a different one, dramatizing the incident. I think they very clearly recognize that that they're about to lose the narrative war once again, especially considering that, like, you can freely travel to Cuba and see for yourself what we've done to the people there. And they don't want another Gaza on their hands, They don't want another, they want another Gaza. They are creating the conditions for another Gaza, but they don't want the perspective to change. They don't want people's perception of our involvement in Cuba to change from like, oh, this is just like not a real sanctions regime at all or anything like that. But it's just simply a byproduct of like the dangers of communism, a warning sign. He didn't play your monologue about the doctors that can't get supplies for a reason. Of course, that's the whole point. That's the entire point. It's just every moment that you're having a conversation about like how silly, how stupid this humanitarian aid mission was. It's a tropical jungle trip. It's a med spa trip. It's not. It fucking was not at all.
And they're so stupid, they convince themselves they're helping, but they aren't convincing anyone else, especially the Cubans.
Don't let the loser make you angry. Use your butt-felt jokes. The coverage is not good. It's destructive and relentless. They know this expedition can increase your revolutionary profile even more. I genuinely don't think they care about the flotilla. They ignored all the others. Yeah. I'm like a fucking magnet for this kind of nonsense, unfortunately, because I have like such an active base of like psychotic haters that are constantly feeding like easy dunks. What is this? The New York Times PR department replied to me. There's no way to defend the ridiculous piece about Hassan, which somehow required 3 reporters so they point the coverage of political turmoil and economic crisis over 7 decades. The Times has reported on political turmoil and economic crisis in Cuba for 7 decades. This is one of the hundreds of stories from Cuba published this month. If you'd like to read more about U.S. policy, the denial of fuel and hardships, we covered it in detail. The question for the Times is why they're writing about a leftist streamer's choice of hotel, which incidentally wasn't his choice. He was a part of a delegation that booked one of the few allowed hotels that could accommodate a large group rather than a U.S. politician's silence. The PR department points out to other coverage of Cuba's crisis because they cannot answer my criticism and explain why they buried the lead and focused on something inconsequential and irrelevant. I had to postpone a surgery in Cuba for several years because we lacked the antiseptic medication to clean hospital beds that had staphylococcus, like staph infection. Is that what it is? The bloqueos just sucks. Did they add your comments to that article? Yeah, but it was a fucking totally abbreviated version of it, which it's understandable. They're not going to put the whole thing in there. That makes, I mean, it was very wordy and very long. Obviously, they're not going to do that, but where is it? I mean, it said, yeah, here's a full quote for the New York Times piece on the Cuban aid mission. Obviously, it was too long for the piece, but I wanted you to see it. This is what they took away from it. Mr. Pryker said in a statement that the attacks were meant to serve as a distraction for the work of activists and politicians to show how the U.S. government's treatment of Cuba had asphyxiated the island and to downplay how the Trump administration was engaging in yet another unjustifiable regime change effort in Cuba. My quote, on the other hand, was, deeply cynical people have made it their lives' work to sit around at the comfort of their homes and undermine the stated purpose of sending humanitarian aid while bringing awareness to the blockade that has caused tremendous torment to the Cuban people, who are some of the bravest and most resilient people I've ever had the honor of meeting. They framed every collaborative action with the Cuban people from an outright evil framework. All of this advances the Trump administration's goals of engaging in yet another unjustifiable regime change effort. We have asphyxiated this island with the hopes of ending its unlimited potential through a sequence of bureaucratic sanctions designed with the sinister purpose of remaining invisible for plausible deniability and to shift the blame back to redistributive policies. My goal was to investigate the hidden ways in which sanctions impact the daily lives of Cubans beyond the oil blockade that started with secondary sanctions in 2019 and reached its total blockade status recently. The things I learned from speaking to doctors, engineers, and ordinary Cubans shock me to my core. I believe the goal of those who choose to belittle the work of the activists and politicians is to serve as a distraction in an effort to defend our government's responsibility and the collective punishment Cubans are experiencing. I need a dictionary real quick. Wait, what? It's the New York Times. They'll publish a whole quote, Lamau. No, I mean, of course they're not going to do that. I did use distraction. I did use the word distraction, and they did put the word distraction. I mean, it's not a bad abbreviation. I think it still gets the gist across. I think they could have been much less generous. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm too deep in the left, too well read. But if I read that edition, I would read to me like a red hot signal flare that the U.S. is absolutely in the wrong here. Yeah. Take away the nice hotels and drip bullshit. What more could they even criticize of your trip? I mean, they've done so much more than just like the drip anyway. Yeah, I mean, this was another like moment that's supposed to be like a revelation for liberals. So funny how both the liberals and conservatives are united on absolutely clowning on Code Pink, Lamau. Yes, we know you guys are fascist sympathizers. We see it every day, says Mike from PA. But it's like this is supposed to be a moment where, what is this? Proof Cuba isn't authoritarian. They didn't kill this guy. Yeah, true. It's like all of these liberals that are aligning with the Republicans to justify Trump's policy of starvation and the war crime of collective punishment don't even fucking think for a brief moment about what that says about their worldview. They're supposed to hate Donald Trump, right? Or at least they claim to hate Donald Trump, and yet they love when Donald Trump does shit like this. Unfucking believable. We shall see. Anyway.
Turning now to the
let's get to situation monitoring.
war with Iran, there are signs that President Trump may be seeking a deal to end the fighting. A senior foreign ministry official in Iran tells CBS News it is reviewing points received from U.S. negotiators. Iran also launched more missile strikes at Israel and other U.S. allies overnight. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House for us this morning. Ed, good morning. Good to see you.
Bro, Lib supported Biden during the genocide is not a leap. Yes, but there were plenty of liberals that actually were frustrated with Biden. Okay, that's part of the reason why Kamala Harris lost. And not only that, but also it's not Biden who's starving the island of Cuba right now, is it? Even though Biden did continue the strangulation of the island when he was president. It's Trump doing it, and he's doing it in the most Trumpian fashion, where he's just basically saying the quiet part out loud over and over again. He's like, I'm starving the island. Doesn't matter if some Cubans die. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. A new Gallup poll shows how American sympathies have shifted in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Another one, dude. God damn. Oh no, this is the old one. It's from February 27th. Yeah, it's just unbelievably bad. Unbelievably bad.
Glad, good to see you. President Trump said from the beginning that the war would last about 4 weeks, and we're now in that fourth week. And with markets uneasy and the cost of gas climbing, the president appears to be trying to find a way out.
They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal, too.
Touting the promise of a peace deal with Iran.
Major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement.
President Trump insisted the U.S. is talking to what he called a, quote, top person.
We're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader.
A senior Iranian foreign ministry official says Iran is reviewing points sent by the U.S. through a mediator, but no formal talks are underway. The president says the U.S. had in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations with Iran, so he's postponed strikes on Iranian power plants for 5 days, after earlier threatening an attack on Monday if it didn't fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
They want peace. They've agreed they will not have a nuclear weapon.
The president said both sides have 15 points of agreement. Iran hasn't committed to any deal publicly. But stocks surged on word of the talks, and oil prices fell 10%. And with the Strait of Hormuz still effectively closed, the president suggested a unique partnership to keep oil shipments safe.
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah, look, and there'll also be a form of
It's going to be a collaborative effort. Me and the Ayatollah, we're besties. I've long said that I embody the spirit of Ali. Ya Ali, I say, over and over again as I thump my chest.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
Regime change.
Now, despite the president's attempts to start talks with Iran, more than 2,000 Marines and 3 more warships are headed to the region. And CBS News has learned this morning Pakistan and Turkey are among the countries trying to get the U.S. and Iran to keep.
Wallahi, they love me and the Ayatollah.
Day 25 of the war has brought both relief and confusion.
Trump got a gift? Yeah, it's a gifted sub. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. Piker Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today. Piker Broadcasting Service, the best way. That's weird. Your stream said ad break in progress, but show no ads. Yeah, that's because on your end, you probably have an ad blocker because the Piker Broadcasting Service does not run ads. This is an ad-free service. Parky Park 202, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. A Cat for Cutie, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. We do not run any ad breaks at the Piker Broadcasting Service. Ad-free, baby.
Relief that President Trump has not carried out his threat to hit all the power stations in Iran, and the Iranians, therefore, have not carried out their threat to reciprocate in kind. That would have taken the war to a whole new level. But it's brought some confusion because President Trump said that I'm suspending the threat for 5 days because I think I've got a deal. The Iranians have agreed to pretty well everything that I wanted. Well, most of the world is pretty skeptical about that because if you look at the sort of things that divide the United States and Iran, they're pretty big things. We can look at just 4 of them. First of all, the ballistic missile threat. The Iranians have got a lot of ballistic missiles. The Americans say they can't have any of them. Secondly, what is going to happen to the Strait of Hormuz? What will happen to it after some sort of peace deal? Everything's different there now. Thirdly, what about Iran's existing nuclear stocks? They're believed to have 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium somewhere. And fourthly, the broader issues around the region, which the Israelis are pushing, which will be very difficult to resolve, certainly within 4 or 5 days. Let's just look at them in a little bit more detail. So if we think, first of all, about the ballistic missile issue, the Iranians have always tested their missiles at 2,000 kilometers, and they did that so as to include Israel, but not really many other countries. But last weekend, they apparently threw 2 missiles towards Diego Garcia. Now, I'm skeptical as to whether they could have done that. One of them fell short, one was shot down en route. We don't know where it was shot down. I'm not certain that they've actually been able to extend their range from 2,000 to 4,000 kilometers. I remain to be convinced. The one missile that might have done that would be the Gado 110, which is a 2-stage rocket. Maybe they managed to make one stage, the solid fuel stage, go a bit further with a very light warhead. I'm not sure about that. But Iranian ballistic missile capability is certainly quite impressive, and it will remain impressive unless they agree to get rid of all of it. They're very unlikely to do that. The second issue is the question of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the Iranians have demonstrated, both to themselves and to the world, that they can restrict ships going through the straits. They haven't blocked them, but they've made them dangerous. And at the moment, what the Iranians are saying is that if you're a friendly country, your ships can go through. If you're a neutral country, they can go through if they pay us $2 million each time. And if you're a hostile country, they can't go through at all. So the Iranians have discovered that they can be toll keepers in the Strait of Hormuz. And that's an advantage which they will not give up easily in any negotiations. This is probably a pointer to the future. And the third issue, of course, is their nuclear capabilities. They demand the ability to be a civil nuclear power. But what does that mean in terms of creating a weapon? We don't know. That remains on the table. And fourthly, the issue of regional stability. The Israelis are determined to keep on taking on Hezbollah, to destroy them. They're determined to deal with Hamas. They're determined to deal with the militias, the pro-Iranian militias in Iraq. And they're determined to neutralize, if necessary, the pro-Iranian Houthis in Yemen. So the broader regional context will remain a big, big problem. And that certainly won't be solved in 5 days of even intensive negotiations. And if all this comes to nothing by the weekend, then the Americans have got another military trick up their sleeve, the arrival of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit from Okinawa, joined by 2,500 troops from San Diego. So they'll have 5,000 or more Marines available to storm ashore somewhere within the whole Gulf region. They may or may not choose to use it. But the fact is that if this week's diplomacy doesn't really get anywhere, the Americans have another military trick up their sleeve. So as of now, we don't know whether this war will take a turn towards peace or a turn towards a new military campaign. But we will know.
Philippines Margo says Mideast war may spur energy talks with China in disputed sea. What I fucking tell you? What I fucking tell you? What did I fucking tell you? That's right, baby. American force projection capabilities are in the shitter, which is causing regional allies with security partnerships with the United States of America to reconsider dealing with the regional superpower, China. Okay? I told you. Now, who knows? I mean, look, I think the independence of the Philippines is, overstated. Didn't you call this literally yesterday? I've been calling this since day 3. When I saw American radar installations get blown to fucking bits and Dubai get peppered with Shahed drones, that's when I said American security partnerships do not protect these countries at all, and every other country that is in the periphery of China is going to reconsider their position. No one wants to be a bullet sponge. Okay, especially when America is moving in this unpredictable, chaotic way that causes other large countries to take military action potentially. Once America is so overextended that it reveals itself to be a paper tiger, a lot of these other countries that have American bases are going to reconsider what those bases mean for them up until this Iranian retaliation. An American base meant protection, right? They were wrong about it, but it doesn't matter. There was still this idea that you were going to be protected by the United States of America. You wouldn't be sovereign. You'd still be a dog to empire, but at the end of the day, you could do your own corrupt little thing, and have a nice life, have a decent, comfortable puppet life. Now the calculation is very different. As America hurries the THAAD interceptors away from South Korea, after causing so much instability for South Korea and a loss of billions of dollars of Chinese investment in South Korea, because in 2016 they put those THAAD interceptors there and China obviously retaliated. All of a sudden, those deals are meant for nothing at all. Those deals don't have any meaning whatsoever. So why did South Korea lose billions of dollars of Chinese investment for no reason? Now that you fucking took those THAAD missiles, THAAD interceptors away, is totally ridiculous. That's why I said that no matter what happens, America has lost this battle. And even if it ends up winning the war somehow, I think the age of American empire is coming to a close, right? There's no guarantee that America will win the war. But I will say that America's lost a much larger war of being able to force project around the world in the ways that it did for decades. The end of history period of time is coming to a close.
Can you give us any more sense of who exactly in Iran it is, either Witkoff and Kushner and others are speaking with?
Yeah, we had, I hate to say this in front of these young people. They're not children.
Not like Vietnam or Iraq. The financial repercussions of Vietnam and Iraq were nowhere near as consequential as like shutting off the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? The Iranian capabilities are specifically tailor-made for this incident. The backlash from Vietnam and Iraq were contained. They were regional, right? You had Laos, Cambodia. But that was contained. With Iraq, you had the MENA region and the instability that came after that. But again, that was somewhat contained. This war of choice against Iran has made this a global issue. Okay? A global issue.
I spoke to most of them. They sound like adults to me, even though they are sort of children, right? They'll always be your children. But I hate to say it, but we killed all their leadership. And then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed all of them. And now we have a new group, and we can easily do that, but let's see how they turn out. We have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that...
Yeah, Vietnam and surrounding countries were producing 20% of the world's oil and 35% of the world's fertilizer inputs when the U.S. attacked them. Exactly. It was a very different time. And even with like Iraq, you could say that Iraq was a major oil producer, but like the energy ministry was kept intact for this specific purpose. So like they could very quickly continue the extractive process with foreign capital. So they just like took over the state run refineries and exchanged ownership and gave it to foreign hands while they kept fighting against all of the ascetic bands of militancies that grew out of the power vacuum that they caused, that the American government caused. Very different set of circumstances. Very different set of circumstances in Iraq versus Iran.
We started off with that created all those problems. So this was, I think we can say, Jason, this is regime change, right?
What makes you trust them?
I don't trust anybody. I don't trust you. I mean,
are the negotiations real or just market manipulation? Yes, it's market manipulation. The negotiations, as far as we understand, are not real at all. The Iranian side has kept repeatedly saying that the negotiations are fake. We're not negotiating with the Americans, and they're actually doing it for market manipulation. So Donald Trump is molesting the money, but also doing it a controlled molestation, right? Or at least trying to control the molestation to the best of his ability.
That's only because I know you. But if I didn't know you, I'd probably have more trust. But I don't trust anyone.
Why bother?
Why do you say that? Why do you say what makes you trust? Do you think I trust them? I don't trust them.
Then why bother talking to them?
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related. And it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people. Because, you know, you don't know, because the leadership was killed, all gone.
The only thing I can point to with this statement is the Financial Times reporting that came out, right? That stated that Iran says non-hostile ships can transit the Strait of Hormuz. So I guess that could be what they are referencing here, right? Like that could possibly be what the Iranians were willing to concede on, and that might have actually been something that Iran released on its own, and then Trump is actually personally taking credit for it, as though Iran did it for the United States of America. I mean, this could also be read as Iran repeatedly saying that as long as you trade on the Chinese yuan and pay a toll, then you could pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Like that might be just a reiteration of that deal. Does anyone have a remove paywall for that Financial Times article? Because I would like to read it. Because I don't see Donald Trump. I mean, the Iranians folding in this situation. Here's a gift link for you via my Financial Times subscription. Thank you. Hassan Piker, multi-millionaire, billionaire socialist, champagne socialist, steals gift links from his community, steals their gifted subs. He forces them to offer voluntary subscriptions, and then he steals their gifted links. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hassan Piker. Iran has circulated a letter to member countries of the International Maritime Organization saying non-hostile vessels can transit the Strait of Hormuz in coordination with Iranian authorities. In the letter circulated among IMO members on Tuesday, shared with the Financial Times, Iran's foreign ministry said Tehran had taken necessary and proportionate measures to prevent the aggressors and their supporters from exploiting the Strait of Hormuz to advance hostile operations against Iran. The critical waterway has been in effect closed to all but a handful of ships since the start of the U.S.-Israel war against Iran on February 28th. Previously, about a fifth of the world's oil passed through the strait, as well as the majority of cargo and container ships serving Gulf countries. About 3,200 ships are stuck in the Gulf, unwilling to risk the transit of the narrow strait, which is just 21 nautical miles wide at its narrowest point. At least 22 vessels have been hit by Iran since the outbreak of the conflict. The IMO, a UN body, sets international standards for shipping, convened an emergency meeting of its members last week to address the crisis. It is in talks to try and establish a humanitarian corridor to allow ships that are running critically low on supplies to exit the Gulf. In recent days, ship tracking data has suggested Iran is permitting a small number of ships to pass via a route in its territorial waters. Analysts believe the route allows Iranian authorities to verify the vessel's identities before letting them transit. Some ships have paid as much as $2 million to Iran to ensure safe passage through the Gulf, according to Lloyd's List Intelligence and one person with knowledge of the situation. I did bring this up. So yeah, I think this is what is going on. They're just restating what the Iranian government has stated since day one, or at least for the last couple of weeks. They've been reiterating that ships, non-hostile ships, can pass through the Strait of Hormuz as long as they, pay a toll. And specifically, I think pay the toll in Chinese yuan as well. So there's some conditions that they're implementing. And what's really interesting about that, of course, is that it's a reiteration that Iran is invested in regional stability and stabilizing the global markets, which opens up another leverage point for Iran, right? Not only do they get to forcibly claw back reparations, right? Not only do they get to do that, but also on top of that, it shows the rest of the world that they hold the cards, they control the strait, okay? And last but not least, Payatola. Last but not least, this is offering alleviation to the energy crisis. And Iran is saying, like, we want to alleviate the tensions. We want to be a restrained global partner to all these other countries as a sovereign nation, which if countries get, if the energy market stabilize once again, then it's an even bigger threat that every single attack from Israel and America will be seen as an unstable actor. Do you understand? Like, this is Iran reasserting its dominance over the strait, showing the world that they are invested in stability, and simultaneously showing the world that, like, the non-stable actors here, the destabilizing actors here, the irrational actors here are the Israelis and the Americans, right? It still plays a role in actively trying to decouple middle powers and other regional powers in the Asian markets away from American imperial hegemony. And I think the reason why they're doing this is because they also understand that America's not invested in negotiations at all. I'm a bit skeptical if it's in Iran's interest to make oil markets freak out and go as high as possible. If they aren't inflicting economic pain, then they lose their leverage. Even if the U.S. ships can't go through, the markets will still cool a lot. No, I think here's what I think. Here's my assessment, at least. I think they know that Israel and America are still going to keep bombing. They're still going to keep bombing Iran. But if the markets cool a little bit, and then America and Israel bomb Iran, and then Iran says no more pass through, all of a sudden, people are going to say, well, what the fuck? Iran wants to let us get the necessary resources and commerce. America and Israel don't. I think it's a way to open up a new avenue of leverage. Because if Iran's goal here is to make the regional partners decouple from the United States, which, by the way, is a maximalist position that they probably will not achieve, let's be real, at most, you will cause countries like Qatar, for example, to be a little bit more skeptical about this partnership that they have with the United States of America, but maybe not the UAE or Saudi Arabia. But I feel like we're there right now, but Iran is still viewed as a bad guy. What they say in their correspondence or in their communiques is not what they think. Okay? What France or Germany is saying is very different than what they're thinking. Okay? You have to understand that. And the same goes for all these other countries. They might say, oh, Iran, you're making the world less stable. How are you doing that? But well, simultaneously, they're having, closed door meetings and offering bilateral commitments. If they're doing bilateral commitments with Iran, then Iran is actually achieving a very important goal there, which is to unwind at least some of America's soft power at a time when America has dropped the ball on doing any sort of soft power anyway. Right? I could see that. I just find it a bit unlikely that Iran would allow that much transit to go through, given the windfall they've been getting from oil price being so high and the frustration that is being incurred by the U.S. from partners like in Europe who are not trying to make bilateral deals with Iran. Who's to say they're going to allow countries that don't make bilateral deals with Iran to pass through? The thing you're describing is almost Cold War-esque economic warfare as like a second front aside from the actual military warfare occurring on the ground. It's perfect asymmetrical warfare tactics. I like your take on this a lot. They get told and erode what is left of the U.S. credibility at the same time. Yeah, also every single ship that passes through and pays a toll to Iran is American power diminishing in the world. Because that means Iran controls the strait. Okay? Every single ship that passes through and gets the go-ahead from Iran is absolutely playing a role in diminishing American power and American force projection capabilities. That's it. This is an unbelievable gift to China. An unbelievable gift to China. I suspect they're aware of this. I think they are. I saw a Chinese foreign policy paper that was talking about this in like very selfish terms. As you know, Chinese foreign policy often is known to be very selfish, very self-interested. And what I'm reading, and it's great for Russia too, of course. But what I wonder is if China will tilt the scales a little bit. Because I don't think China wants the Gulf to perish. Because if the Gulf perishes, China loses its major oil contracts. Their major oil and gas providers come from the Gulf, right? From the GCC states. So they have to tilt the scales a little bit in favor of Iran so that America will back down. But if they don't see that, which I suspect they do, right? If they think that Iran can just like sit this one out and white knuckle through this process and be able to destroy American hegemony, or at least cripple American hegemony as it has done so in the past 25 days, that's a dangerous risk. That's a dangerous gambit. Because if America and Israel's goals are achieved here, this will cause complete chaos. And the oil markets will shift dramatically. There will be complete chaos around the world, especially in all the countries in and around the South China Sea. Okay? And America will be one of the singular energy providers for the rest of the planet, including for China. Okay? So they have to try and, like, at some point, how would China tilt the scales? They're not going to get involved militarily in their stances. You should all just calm the fuck down and negotiate now. I think China knows a bit more and has a bit more brainstorming power than you, bro. Lol. Okay, I understand that, and I agree with that. But you have, like, I'm just, I'm still going to provide analysis. This is like saying America has contingencies, bro. Okay? The reason why I don't take seriously at face value statements like that is the same reason why I'm still going to say, like, what China could potentially do. Especially because, like I said, the escalation ladder still has a room to go, right? There's still room to go up on the escalation ladder. And if America's larger goals here are to just drop the Gulf in its entirety and allow it to perish as a major energy resource for the rest of the fucking planet, with hopes that they can quickly accelerate their refinement process in the United States of America and reroute logistics away from the Gulf, which is very far away from America, and become an even greater energy exporter than it already is. Okay? Which is, I think, what America is like. The only materialist interpretation of what America's goals might be in this process is that. Then China has to tell Iran not to blow up the refineries, no matter what, because that would harm China's interests. China's Wang Yi tells Iran talks are better than war. China urges starting peace talks on Iran as soon as possible. See? Qatar Energy has declared force majeure on some of its affected long-term LNG supply contracts with counterparties, including customers in Italy, Belgium, South Korea, and China. This might be a popular mindset in the Trump circle. I don't know if America will just pull out without taking control over the control of Hormuz. Yeah, General Mattis, Iran right now, if we declared victory, they would now say they own the strait. You'd see a tax for every ship that goes through. We're in a tough spot, ladies and gentlemen. I can't identify a lot of options. Oh, my Lord. We're fucking winning, baby. We're winning. How about you focus on what your government is doing? What? Americans need to shut the fuck up about China, handle your own affairs? No. That's ridiculous. Okay? Of course I'm going to offer analysis for what China could be doing in favor of China, mind you. I'm not even talking about, like, you know, China engaging in a moral act. Hold on. I have to write this real quick. iDubbbz raid. Hey, iDubbbz, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother.
Khomeini, all gone. As the expression goes, the past supreme leader. And then the new supreme leader was racked up, at a minimum, racked up pretty good. And everyone else was gone. And then many of the people in the third tier are gone. But we're dealing with a group of people that I think turn out. And the present, the gift they made to us was very significant. And they said they were going to do it, and it happened. And they're the only ones that could have done it. Jennifer?
Was it related to the Strait of Hormuz and the flow of...
Yeah, it was related to the flow and to the strait, yeah, it was.
Are you negotiating on who's going to control the strait from now on?
No, we'll have control of anything we want. Look, if we can...
Israeli diplomat believes Trump is not talking to someone different. High-level commander of the IRGC, Ambassador Michael Oren, tells Fox News he believes the U.S. is not talking to either Ghalibaf or Arakchi, that the administration is talking to someone high up in the IRGC command structure. Doubtful. But we'll see.
And this, without more lives being down, without knocking out $10 billion electric plants that are brand new and the apple of their eye. I'd like to be able to do that, you know. But they can't have certain things. I mean, you know the things. I don't have to go over the list, but again, it starts with no nuclear weapons, and they've agreed to that. There won't be any nuclear weapons. They're not going to have, and they're not going to have enrichment, any of those things. But look, I hate to say that we're in a very good bargaining position.
Are you going to send Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff to do direct negotiations with the Iranians?
Yeah, well, we're in negotiations, as it turned out, and now you've seen what I said yesterday was exactly correct. We're in negotiations right now. They're doing it along with Marco, JD. We have a number of people doing it, and the other side, I can tell you, they'd like to make a deal. And who wouldn't if you were there? Look, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their communications are gone. That's the biggest problem. It's very hard to communicate them between themselves. All of the anti-aircraft is gone. Most of their missiles are gone. We either shot them or they shot them and don't have them anymore. They're down to a trickle. Pretty much everything they have is gone. I don't know. Can you name one thing that's not gone, or can you name one thing that's doing well? You know, if you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran, the city, Tehran, as opposed to Iran. We're roaming free. We can do whatever we want. And as you know, today we were going to have the privilege of shooting down a very big electric generation plant, one of the biggest in the world. And one shot to the right location ends the plant, it collapses. And we held off based on the fact that we're negotiating. Yeah.
What do you think was the turning point to make you want to pursue a ceasefire? A few days ago, you said you wanted to continue bombing Iran. Now you want to pursue peace talks. Was there something that happened?
The fact that they're talking to us and they're talking sense. And remember, it all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon. Just, I said yesterday, they said, what are the top 10? I said, well, number 1, 2, and 3 is they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
Are you encouraging our allies in the Gulf to be more involved in the Iran operation?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but more NATO. I think our Gulf allies have been pretty good, to be honest with you. UAE's been hit so hard. He got hit by 1,400 rockets, shot them all out of the air with our great Patriot missiles. Think of it, they shot 100 missiles at one of our aircraft carriers, the Abraham Lincoln, one of the biggest ships in the world, actually. And out of 101 missiles shot, every single one of them was knocked down in the sea. Think of that. Think of what that means. 101 missiles, highly sophisticated, very fast missiles shot. Out of 101, all 101 were shot down, and now, for the most part, lie at the bottom of the sea. It's pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. Our military is amazing, Pete. You know the attack I'm talking.
Yeah, a lot of random accidents happening in the region. It's just so unfortunate that so many random, purely happenstance accidents keep materializing over and over again. And I just can't seem to place my finger on it. We've lost 15 to 20 planes at this point. Many also need repairs now, shadow tankers that need repairs. USS Gerald Ford, now decommissioned, out of business for 14 months. It's the salty air of the sea. Yeah, it's a real suspicious moment. F-15s getting taken out by friendly fire incidents. F-35, an F-35 eating a pretty significant blow to American air superiority in its next-gen fighters. Better hurry up on that F-47, boys. For the Boeing boys in the chat. F-47 for President number 47. Believe it. That will be the next-gen fighter. Running out of Iraq to Kurdish areas. Yeah, that's not good either.
Talking about.
Not gonna lie, if you think the Gerald R. Ford was hit, you're really dumb as fuck. I'm sorry. I don't know if the Gerald R. Ford was hit. I don't have enough evidence to suggest that. But according to the new reports that are coming out, the issues on Gerald R. Ford are far more consequential than what we previously thought they were, considering that it's going to be decommissioned for 14 months. Whether it's sabotage or, whether it's internal sabotage, mutiny, or direct hits from some kind of Iranian boat. I mean, both are still pretty bad incidents for, again, American military superiority. Speaking of weird coincidental accidents, did we talk about the Valero refinery fire? Once again, even with the Valero refinery fire, it's accelerated production because that's a facility that handles heavy crude, right? Venezuelan heavy crude, as a matter of fact. Accelerated production, dog shit facilities in the United States of America could have absolutely been an accident. Like, it's another one of those instances where, like, is it likely that, like, there was Iranian sabotage on U.S. soil? I don't think so. I think that's a far too sophisticated thing to plan and pull off. I don't think it's within the capabilities of Iran. I would chalk that up to the decline of American industry more than anything else. They explode incredibly often in the U.S. That, but also on top of that, like I said, there is accelerated production right now. I can totally see that. No, it would not be Israel. You're out of your dang mind. Oh, you mean like Israel doing a false flag and blaming it on Iran? Maybe, but no, even then, I think the highest probability here is definitely, it's some kind of, update. Shelter in place lifted, roads reopened, no injuries in the Valero fire explosion. Judge Brannick said the fire was out at 3:30 a.m. Small ground fires persisted after that. Washington Elementary, Lincoln, what is it? Sent black smoke and flames soaring in the air above a heater unit and rocked homes far from the plant, but resulted in no injuries. Valero saying it is accounted for all of its workers. Shelter in place impacted, no evacuations. Crews got water to the fire and worked to put it out. By 9:30, crews in Port Arthur saw only flaring at the plant with no other flames visible. All right, where the fuck is the assessment? Oh, Sheriff Zena Stevens and Port Arthur Police Chief Tim DeRiso tell KFDM News there are no reported injuries. Says the fire involves a heater unit. Currently, there is a fire in a unit at Valero's Port Arthur, Texas refinery. All personnel being accounted for. Okay. All right. There is nothing. There's not really much here. As someone that lives in Texas coastal area, these plants randomly explode all the time. This one's just especially big. No way it's sabotage. Yeah, I think the more likely event that occurred is that increased production, facilities poorly maintained. These things do have a tendency to fucking have flare-ups like this, and I suspect that it happened because of, once again, accelerated production. So, faulty heater, bad maintenance, could be a million different reasons.
Recently. 101 shot. I said, wow. I saw that. You can see we have sort of pretty good equipment that we see. It's called the red line. Those red lines were thick, right? I said, that's a lot. And then we saw them one by one just get shot. And these guys that do the shooting, the coolest cucumbers ever. You know, most people, you don't have a lot of time. When a missile's going at 2,500 miles an hour, I don't care how far away it is, you don't have a lot of time. But I watched them sit down and think. Great students, MITs, a lot of MITs, a lot of guys like this, and not as much into the muscle as they are, this one right here. And amazing to watch them perform under great pressure, because they have a matter of seconds to do it. If they don't do it properly, it's a big problem, you know, because these were powerful. These were very powerful missiles coming. And so a lot of people choke. They don't choke. These guys don't choke. They're the best in the world. We have the best in the world.
How hopeful are you that this peace deal will work out, like as a human,
On what?
On a human level, and not as the President of the United States? How hopeful are you that this peace deal will work out with Iran?
You're talking about to end it? Well, I think we're going to end it. I can't tell you for sure. You know, I don't like to say this. We've won this. This war has been won. The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I mean, the New York Times, you read the New York Times, it's like we're not winning a war where they have no Navy and they have no Air Force and they have no nothing. And we literally have planes flying over Tehran and other parts of their country. They can't do a thing about it. For instance, if I want to take down that power plant, that very big, powerful power plant, they can't do a thing about it. It's like, take me. That's all they can do. And yet, if you read the New York Times or if you watch ABC fake news or NBC fake news, you'd say it's a close battle. It's not a close battle. They're totally defeated.
You said there's a bunch of people from the administration who are negotiating with Iran. There's been reports that the vice president is leading those negotiations. Is that true?
Well, he's involved in them. JD is involved, and Marco's involved, and Jared Kushner's involved, very smart guy, and Steve Witkoff, smart guy, is involved. And I'm involved. I'm involved. Why? I'm going to be so big. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'm the president of the United States, Tom, and I'm not going to talk about it. It's beneath me to talk about saving millions of lives, because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about saving millions of lives. If Iran had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it. And if I didn't end the horrible Barack Hussein Obama Iran nuclear deal in my first administration, they would have had a nuclear weapon 3 or 4 years ago. They would have used it. I would have never gotten the chance probably to be president. Who knows what it would have been so devastating. And if we didn't send those beautiful B-2 bombers, they took them off my desk. They were right there. I don't know why. But if we didn't have those beautiful, the B-2 hit, which was so, we obliterated, despite CNN. CNN said, well, maybe the word obliteration said, no, we obliterated it, just obliterated their nuclear potential. You would have had them having 2 weeks after that attack, had we not made the attack, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have absolutely used it. And they would have used it on the entire Middle East, including it.
It's kind of strange to me that, like, we just carry this conversation over and over again, and everybody knows it's a lie. I guess with the exception of, like, some of the diehard Republican loyalists, like the cultists, most people know that this is bullshit, right? Especially because, like, Trump himself in the past, after the 12-Day War, was, like, giving assurances that the nuclear weapon conversation was done, right? It's so strange that they're just constantly going back and forth on this bullshit. Like, everybody knows it's not the fucking goal here at all. Like, who is this for? His base already believes them. Just come on, just stop repeating it, you know?
Israel. And you know why you see that? Because unexpectedly, when this war broke out, unexpectedly, they started sending missiles to UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait.
Unexpectedly, they started bombing our bases when we were bombing them. So unexpected. Why would they do such a thing? Don't you know it's illegal?
On Saudi Arabia, there's been some reporting that you've been talking to the Crown Prince. Have you been focused on normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel?
Well, no, we have a great relationship with Saudi Arabia. What do you hear with Saudi Arabia?
Just hearing that you've been talking and that he has been encouraging you to do certain things related to Iran. Can you share?
Well, he's a warrior. He does. Yeah, he's a warrior. He's fighting with us, by the way. Saudi Arabia has been excellent, and UAE, excellent. And I will tell you, Qatar, incredible. Qatar took a hit, pretty bad hit. Qatar's very close, you know, they're essentially, you can walk right over the border. Qatar took a hit. They've been great. They've been very strong. Kuwait, they had a little mishap. They shot down 3 planes with our missiles.
That's awesome. A little mishap. Look at him smiling, by the way. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Bro, you are a participant. You're the president. You're the commander in chief. You're not watching from afar, man. Those are your planes. It's literally the fucking meme, my tax dollars, somehow also my tax dollars in real time.
They're going to make a deal.
It was a giant wooden horse, yeah. There's a beautiful horse. They said it honors me. It gives me an honor. Many of these European partners have not honored me. They took away my Nobel Peace Prize, but the Iranians, on the other hand, they've honored me by giving me a big, beautiful horse, the most beautiful. It's massive.
They happen to be our planes, but the pilots made it. Can you imagine the pilots making it? The pilots saw what was coming.
Wait, what? Did you guys hear like a Steam thing? Yeah, I know. It's because Will invited me to play Deadlock. I'm not downloading a game. It's because Will, knowing full well that I'm live, invited me to play Deadlock with him, which I don't even have. U.S. seeking 1 month ceasefire to hold Iran talks, Channel 12. Oh, buddy. Oh, this is great.
And they said, those are patriots. We're not going to escape patriots. And they got out of there pretty quick, Pete, right? Pretty amazing that they got out. The 3 pilots lived. They're fine. In fact, they're flying today.
Not out of Kuwait, though.
Yeah, the Kuwaitis made a mistake. They fired. They thought they were firing at the enemy. It was, as the expression goes, friendly fire. But the pilots are great. They're flying today. Pretty amazing when you think of it. Yeah.
Iranian attacks continued to target sites across the Gulf this Tuesday. In Kuwait, power lines were hit by air defense shrapnel, causing partial electricity outages for several hours. Bahrain, meanwhile, said it was attacked with missiles and drones, and that an Emirati soldier serving with its forces had been killed. The United Arab Emirates, meanwhile, saying air defense systems responded to similar attacks, and Saudi Arabia said it destroyed Iranian drones targeting its oil-rich eastern province. Well, for more now, we can cross to our correspondent in Doha, Hoda Abdelhamid. Hoda, the New York Times today is reporting that Saudi Crown Prince MBS, that he's pushing for the US to keep the war with Iran going.
Hassan, I love you, even though you say mean stuff about Kamala. That's so funny. All right, well, thanks for watching, Chad. Or maybe, hopefully, if you maintain charitability in my commentary, you'll understand why I'm so critical of figures like Kamala Harris.
What would the thinking be, do you think, behind that reported encouragement?
Well, I think the thinking for Saudi Arabia is at this stage, the Gulf is so unprotected that...
New leader of the RGC has one message for American soldiers: come closer. For years, we've been awaiting the Americans' entry into designated points, and for over 2 decades, we've been training with the asymmetric warfare strategy for this very moment. Now we have just one message for the American soldiers: come closer. My Lord. Holy shit. Every fucking day, dude. Tehran mocks Trump's gift claim with a missile strike video. Iranian media published footage of what it said was his first successful ground-to-ground missile strike directed at the U.S. base in Erbil, and describing it as a gift we send to Trump, according to Mer News. The framing appears to directly mock Trump's Oval Office remarks, where he claimed that Iran had given the U.S. a present, a very big present, a very significant prize tied to an oil and gas concession. Fars News, citing an Iranian army statement, said the strike targeted a key U.S. position at Erbil Airport, describing it as a major support and command center housing a wide range of military equipment and systems. The statement also said the site serves as a headquarters for separatist groups supported by the Zionist regime, and that Iran accuses of destabilizing its western and northwestern borders. It's so crazy. Every fucking day, bro. Every day. Trump will be like, that's it. The Iranians, they're doing us a great deal. They're doing us a great deal. They love us. They're terrified of us. They're so scared. And the Iranians are like, yeah, we're so scared. Here, watch this. They're literally like, yep, catch this, bitch. Every fucking time. It's so wild. Like, especially considering that this inconsistency seemingly doesn't have a negative, volatile impact on the markets. Right? Like, they might as well just stop fighting. They might as well just stop fighting. They might as well retreat and then just lie about it. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with, it has nothing to do with like whatever is happening on the ground anyway. So you might as well just be like, yep, we're still blowing up Iran. Just keep saying that. And then Iran is so terrified. Any day now, any day, the Iranian government will be toppled. You know? Because like the markets are so desperate for stability that they are just inventing stability. They literally are just making it up. There is no stability right now. None whatsoever, right? It is the most volatile, most insane market manipulation I've ever encountered. And the only time where it was this insane was the last time Donald Trump did the fucking Liberation Day shit. So obviously, yeah, I brought this up, but as far as the market manipulation, yeah, I said they're raping the land and pillaging everyone else in the process. Unbelievable. Financial Times exclusive. Traders made bets worth $500 million in the oil market about 15 minutes before Donald Trump's post touting productive talks with Iran sent the price of crude tumbling. If we had a functioning SEC, this would be a problem, except we don't. And this has to be someone in the Trump family, by the way. There is 0% chance that even like a general or someone else in the fucking room would engage in this. Like it has to be directly related to him, right? Like directly. It's unfucking believable how transparent this market manipulation and insider trading is. And yet, crime is legal. What are you supposed to do? Traders made bets worth $500 million in the oil markets 15 minutes before Donald Trump's post touting productive talks with Iran sent the price of crude tumbling and ignited volatility in other assets. Roughly 6,200 Brent and West Texas Intermediate futures contracts changed hands between 6:49 a.m. and 6:50 a.m. New York Times on Monday, just a quarter of an hour ahead of U.S. President's post on Truth Social that there had been in recent days productive conversations with Tehran to end the war in Iran. The notional value of these trades was $580 million, according to Financial Times calculations based on Bloomberg data. Trading volumes for Brent and WTI leapt at the same time, 27 seconds before 6:50 a.m. Futures tracking the S&P 500 share index jumped in price moments after the oil trade, with volumes also rising significantly during that time frame. It was not known whether one entity or several entities were behind Monday's trades. Trump's announcement at 7:04 a.m. Oh, Sky News covered it.
Normally, in these screens in the last few weeks, we've been talking about the economic implications of the Iran war. But this time I want to talk about something else. It's kind of a mystery story. It's a mystery.
Is it a mystery story? Wow, I wonder who did it. Who did the murder? It can't be the guy with the bloody knife in his hand, right? Guys, there was a knife attack. Who could it have been?
Story. And the mystery
very suspicious.
Begins.
Someone said Taryn Brump.
With this. This was the Donald Trump social media post, Truth Social, that for a lot of people made them think that maybe this war might be coming to an end. At the very least, it had a big impact on markets. And
I think what's funny about this also is that Trump has presented himself as an unreliable narrator of events regardless. So the markets are also engaging in this idiocy by treating his statements like any other president. Okay? So there's that element here as well. The market stabilizing after this this revelation is also stupid in and of itself. It's so stupid. There is a lot of wish casting here where there's a lot of people who know that this is bullshit, but they play along with it. They play along with it because, it's more beneficial. There is no more market fundamentals at play here, not even a little bit. Trump's decision to postpone the Hormuz ultimatum was aimed in part at calming markets, according to people familiar with the matter. The markets only have eyes for Truth Social posts.
the thing I want you to focus on is not necessarily the text of this, but it's the time it came out. 11:05, that's UK time. So 11:05 in the UK, it was morning.
They're just making short-term gains. The same people who stabilize the market will be the ones driving the sell-off next week. Yeah, it's a bunch of fucking corrupt vultures. Yeah, the markets are really scared, so they take any news as good news, but it's total cope. I mean, we saw this happen already. That's why I kept saying money is the most fake it's ever been, and tomorrow it's going to be even faker. Okay? We saw this with the Liberation Day saga. We experienced this with the Liberation Day saga, where Donald Trump came in and said, we're doing blanket tariffs on every country on the fucking planet for no reason. Right? And the moment that there was any sort of respite from this idiocy, the markets were like, oh, thank God. $7 trillion in value wiped out, and then $7 trillion in value materialized once again. It's like, come on, man. You cannot have a normal system like this. And every single one of these instances where Trump insiders are the only ones who are capable of making these decisions because they're operating with insider information, like, you end up unironically consolidating insane amounts of wealth in the hands of an even smaller amount of people. That's all this is. Where will this go? Will this go to a future where there's like 10 trillionaires and then everyone else is fucking broke and dying on the streets? Like, is that what we're going to do? Is that a world that you want to live in anyway? I don't understand it.
Earlier in the morning in the US, obviously. And look at the impact that this had. Okay, so this is showing you the crude oil price. It's the US kind of benchmark of the crude oil price, WTI as it's known. And you can probably spot already the moment
this
that Donald
propping
Trump
off.
post
Oh, yeah.
happened. The oil price went down really sharply, and we've had lots of ups and downs, lots of volatile days on markets in recent days.
I should post that on my IG.
Was something else. As traders went out there and they basically said, we're selling oil because we think that things might get a little bit better. But here's what I want to focus on that you don't normally see in these charts. Not just the price, so that's the oil price, but the volumes. You can actually look at this. You can look at just how many people are buying and selling at any given moment. And have a look at volumes. So these bars are showing you the volumes. So at the given moment that obviously that Donald Trump post happened, you had this massive increase in a lot of people going out there into the market and say, look, something's happening. We need to actually act on it. For the most case, selling at this point. But here's the curious thing, and here's kind of where the mystery is. I want to kind of zoom in on this area here. So I'll kind of zoom in so you can see. This is just the volumes of people going into that oil market and kind of, for the most part, selling after that Donald Trump post. You can see there's...
By the way, this is just pure, like, this is futures. This is a futures market, right? There's also the motherfucking poly market bets, too. Like, every part of this is bunk. And once again, you can't even prosecute poly market, even though there's very clearly insider trading taking place. And you might ask the question, why? And that's because Donald Trump Jr. is sitting on the regulatory board, and that's not going to happen anyway. You are pocket watching and jealous. I just don't understand how this is seen as a sustainable system and how so many motherfuckers are just like sitting around thinking, it's fine. It'll be fine. So it'll fix itself. Or better yet, they're just completely oblivious. Like life goes on for them. They just don't think about it at all. I don't understand how you can live like this. Before the war started, WTI oil was $60, $65. War starts, it goes up to 100, and then it goes down to 90. The market acts like everything is amazing, despite the fact that the price is still $25 to $30 higher than in February. Same thing happened with the tariffs. Tear shit apart, then gain back a quarter of it, and the market acts like things are better than ever. Yeah. By the way, this is literally the Trump method. I described this during Liberation Day, and even before then, I saw this in Trump 1 as well. He breaks things 100%, then claws it back to like 50%, and everybody goes, "Oh, we got 50% liberated." He molests things, and then scales back the molestation, and then everyone goes, "Oh, thank God, we're saved." It's fucking ridiculous. The money is still 50% molested in that process. It's a classic Trump bargain. He does this all the fucking time. New York Times says there's a 15-plan point to end the war. U.S. has sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war in the Middle East. Oh, my lordy. I've tried many times to understand the stock market, but I can't. Can you explain what this exactly means? What do you mean this is not real money? I want to know so I can fight my cynic liberal boyfriend on this. I don't know how to explain it. Stocks that are traded on the stock market are supposed to be traded on fundamentals, like market fundamentals. Like in the past, when a company had new technology, okay, their stock prices increased. They had a more valuable product. It doesn't work that way anymore. Everything is financial engineering. It's not anchored around anything but speculation. And given the market consolidation that has taken place in the stock market as well, where 90% of the stock market is owned by the top 10% of earners in the country, the top 10% of wealth in this country, there's tremendous consolidation. So there's like markets move in a certain direction very quickly. It's not democratized at all. It's not like, $1, one vote. It's not a system like that. And because it's sometimes three companies owning, 70% of the gains, for example, and other times it's like, all of the money is in the hands of the wealthiest people. It's in their vested interest to keep up with this lie. Like one of the examples I used to use was the Tesla valuations, right? Tesla became such a behemoth with so many institutions closely tied to Tesla's success that anytime Elon Musk lied, right? and then was shown to be a liar over and over again, people just kind of went along with the lie because they had a vested interest in the Tesla stock prices going up because they'd bought into it. That's part of the reason why I always say the way the stock market works is if it's doing well, it's not doing well for you necessarily. You might think so because you have a 401k. This makes the average working class individual think that they have a stake in the stock market doing well, but it's not actually doing well for you at all. The gains you're making are marginal. It's inconsequential. But when it's doing poorly, that's when you actually suffer because you see job losses, right? You see scale backs in our productive output. The gains are privatized and the losses are socialized. Stocks are real money, as in you can cash it out at any time, but increasingly the value of companies is not actually based in their intrinsic value, profits, assets, innovation, etc., but based on hype. It always has been to an extent, but it's gotten worse, especially if 401ks take up a huge market shares and just sit there. The state has propped it up, and normal people are trading now. I don't necessarily think it's because of like retail traders that the stock market is so unbelievably busted. I don't think it's true at all. I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's the consolidation of ownership of most stocks in the hands of a select few institutional traders that has created this system. I think that it's actually the institutional traders as opposed to the retail traders that are the reason why the stocks are not reliable at all. I mean, they're not based around the fundamentals that they were supposed to theoretically be in. Stay in your lane, bro, stocky. I mean, again, this is not my forte at all. This is not my area of expertise at all. I don't even fucking own stocks, as you guys know, famously. So I could be totally off base here, but this is just the way I see it. That's why I say money is fake. It's fucking, I'm too stupid to understand it, but it just like feels so fake to me. The thing about retail traders is the institutional traders now follow their expectations of what retail traders will do. So it's kind of both at once. I think there is a vested interest in the stock market constantly being in a fucking bull market. That's what it is. Whether retail traders are actually, movers and shakers at all doesn't really matter. I think that it's more so that everyone involved in the stock market assumes that it's always going to grow. Okay? Stock always goes up. And the government has actually done everything in its fucking power to make sure that the stock market is always going up. And that's like what Donald Trump does. That's what Donald Trump's big thing is, right? He's the most responsive to market moves. If you want to take him out, just destroy the stock market. Now, the problem here, bro, you're right. The market is determined by the movements in it. If few people hold the most stocks and they can make it look however they want to, that's what I think is going on. I don't think it's like retail traders that are going, oh, Donald Trump on Truth Social said that, a deal is imminent. I think it's actually the institutional traders that control a large share of the stock market that go, oh, thank God. And the only reason why they do that is because they have a vested interest in the stock market stabilizing. A company like SpaceX has no reason to IPO at over $1 trillion, given its assets of like 50 billion total, but retail traders are extremely excited about it, so it'll likely be valued at 1.2 to 1.5 trillion. It's just one part of the puzzle, though. Yeah, retail is like 10% of stocks is true. I don't think it's I don't think they're moving they're moving the markets at all. I think they have the capacity to, like with what we saw with GameStop, right? They sometimes have the capacity to, but they don't have the fucking necessary volume to move the markets in the way that like institutional traders can. I just don't. The real money makers are making the banks with the making bank with the volatility. Most bank on it. They buy futures in the hold, and in the hold, the price will go up. Most average people's exposure in the market is passively through a 401k or IRA accounts, and typically those are against some kind of index like the S&P 500. The market is propped up right now by the tech sector, and so much of that hinges on AI hype. Mind you, 80% of U.S. jobs are in services, which AI companies claim they want to automate. Very cool. Yeah, some's got to give. I mean, the contradictions that exist with the only indicator that the economy is doing well by people in positions of power, stock market doing well, is unironically having the exact opposite effect on the real economy, the economy that you think of when you think of the economy doing well for the average, ordinary, working class individuals. Like it has a depressive depressive aspect on regular working class folks, but the stock market's doing well. So all the fucking money holders, all the real power brokers, they think the stock market is doing well. So Trump's job performance is fine, right? It's doing all right, especially if they're close to Donald Trump. The closer they are, the more they can make these sorts of shady trades. We're saying goodbye to the Sora app. To everyone who created with Sora, shared it, and built community around it, thank you. What you made with Sora mattered, and we know this news is disappointing. Oh, no. We'll share more soon, including timelines for the app and API and details on preserving your work, the Sora team. No. No. Not the Sora app. Not my Sora. Cause exit liquidity is always assured for these fucks in the form of 401ks. The problem is backlash from said exit would make it so that the slush fund of 401ks would go away from the inevitable regulation Glass-Steagall 2.0 or worse, so everything must be propped up at all costs. No, not my AI slop, dude. What the fuck? Anyway, let's continue.
There's a real spike in activity. A lot of people going in there, kind of this frenzy, and that's the kind of flip side of prices. But look at this. 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, there was a very big amount of trading volume. Very big. In fact, actually, when you're looking at that amount of volume, that spike, that was the biggest trading volume that we saw that day. We're starting here just at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going through to that moment of the Donald Trump post. Relatively quiet volumes, not much going on in the market, and then all of a sudden that. And if you're wondering, okay, maybe this was just a one-off, it was someone who made a lucky bet, have a look not just at this. So this is WTI, it's one measure, the US measure of oil. Have a look at Brent, which is the kind of the European, seen as the international measure of oil. Again, the same thing. Donald Trump makes his post, flurry of activity, lots of people there. But look at that. Again, 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, a very big trade. Now, it's unclear whether it's just an individual or whether it's a kind of group of people, but what you do know from just imputing what the potential value, the notional value of those trades just on oil would be, it is staggering amounts of money, life-changing amounts of money, $580 million. Someone has just made a real killing on this. And it's not just oil. So that's oil, two different measures of oil. But now have a look at the S&P 500. So this is S&P 500 futures. It's the biggest kind of exchange, stock market, equity market in the world. Same thing again. Donald Trump posts. The price goes up because people are getting very hopeful. Volumes go up at the same time. And if we zoom into the volumes, once again, what do you see? Obviously, there's the volume after Donald Trump made his post, but 15 minutes before, this is actually 10:50 UK time, a very, very big trade. As I say, life-changing amounts of money, hundreds of millions of dollars were potentially made in those moments in this curious trade that seemed to come out of nowhere, leaving a lot of people wondering, was this just luck? Or did someone actually know what the president was about to say?
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder what it was, guys. How curious. 15-point document revealed. 15-point document demands no material to be enriched on Iranian soil. Channel 12, citing source. U.S. 15-point demands enrichment plants of Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow to be decommissioned. 15-point document demands Iran stop funding proxies in the region. 15-point document demands free maritime zone in the Strait of Hormuz. So, okay. So what changed? Why? What I don't understand is, like, why would Iran say yes to this when they have the upper hand? OpenAI is shutting down. Wait, what? Is this fucking April Fools or something? What? If OpenAI is shutting down, the American economy is over. It's just Sora, which is a huge dent. You'll love this. This is what the companies are propping up the market are doing now. They're guaranteeing 17.5% returns for additional private equity investment. Very normal shit going on. Anthropic is offering equity, and OpenAI is offering the same plus 17.5%, and both are hemorrhaging cash. OpenAI is offering private equity firms a guaranteed minimum return of 17.5%, as well as early access to models not yet in public release. ChatGPT maker OpenAI is offering private equity firms a sweeter deal than a rival Anthropic, as both artificial intelligence companies court buyout firms that form joint ventures aimed at raising fresh capital and accelerating adoption of enterprise AI products, according to people familiar with the talks. OpenAI is offering private equity firms a guaranteed minimum of 17.5%, significantly higher than typical preferred instruments. Two people familiar said, this is a Ponzi scheme, right? Like this is just a Ponzi scheme. How can you guarantee that? By just what? The cash that you raise? And for the record, you can't do, remember, you can do this to poor people and you'll become very rich. But if you do this to rich people, as OpenAI is doing, virtually to every fucking, every massive company out there, you're gonna go to jail eventually. I mean, this is going to destroy the entire economy. Like, Bernie Madoff went to prison because he fucked over rich people, okay? It's not because he fucked over poor people. Nobody gives a shit if you fuck over poor people. You make a lot of money fucking over poor people. It's because OpenClaw open source is fucking OpenAI's future desktop agents, digital
Gathering in
employees.
Beijing, hosted by internet giant Baidu, hundreds of people line up.
This does unironically feel like anytime China truly reveals like an open source, easy access competitor to what the American AI companies are presenting at this like high markup, it literally disrupts America's only fucking profit center. Like, the OpenClaw is some random German dude. OpenClaw is not Chinese. Oh shit, I thought it was Chinese. I was thinking of DeepSeek. This happened with DeepSeek. OpenClaw literally uses frontier models under the hood
To get OpenClaw onto their laptops and phones. The Austrian-designed AI agent is all the rage in China.
Events teaching people how to use OpenClaw, or raise a lobster, as Chinese people say, are popping up across the country. This one is a full house.
OpenClaw has become really hot.
China has already surpassed the U.S. in adopting the open source software, which can run anything on a computer for you without you. You can tell it to search the web, buy
What the
plane tickets,
fuck?
even direct other bots. Wang Xiaoyan is using.
Bro, what the fuck is this? Yo, are people stupid? This is like, in my opinion, this is the biggest L of China. They are so involved in the AI craze. Okay, before I get into this, let's get back to situation monitoring. We'll get to the fucking nuclear AI in a second. Here's Galabaf saying, we are aware of what is happening in the paper oil market, including the firms hired to influence oil futures. We also see the broader jawboning campaign. But let's see if they can turn that into actual fuel at the pump, or maybe even print gas molecules. This is what's happening as Trump is speaking and claiming the war with Iran is already over. Sirens across Israel. It's fucking so cooked. I'll go through the 15-point plan in a second. Let's hear what the Saudi leaders are saying. Saudi leaders said to be pushing Trump to continue the war in Iran. New York Times reports. This is so funny.
Probably it is better to try to finish this war just to make sure, that the U.S. doesn't leave, and then Trump declares victory, and then Saudi and the other Gulf countries are left to pick up the pieces. They can come under attack, for example, by the Houthis in Yemen, which happened in the past before this war, and they can come under attack from Iran itself. But the article is based on sources who claim that Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, would have said that this is a historic moment for the Middle East. That language is very much close to the narrative that was coming out of Israel, specifically from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the
Almost like that's an inherent massive vulnerability to commodity-dependent economy. Someone can undercut your entire economy if there's another source for your primary commodity. Yeah, it's also funny because the primary commodity that we're talking about is not like anything real. And ironically, if it succeeds, it will have massive negative consequences. Because like we're talking about AI, right? If AI actually reaches true artificial intelligence, it will have insane consequences for the labor market. So even if it technically succeeded, it would still be devastating, which, by the way, there's no There is, I'm sorry, no real proof that it has, that we are anywhere near close to AGI regardless. Okay? Are you leading the Butlerian Jihad movement? I am. I'm the fucking IRGC general of the Butlerian Jihad. I don't touch AI with a fucking 10-foot pole. I just don't like it. I'm old. I hate it. I think it's bad. I think it's gross. I think it has horrible effects on our cognitive development in general. I think there's a major, you'll see in the future, if we have fucking researchers at all, where you'll see papers popping up left and right about cognitive offloading and its dangers. Okay? The wealthy know this already, and that's precisely the reason why they send their children to schools where they, one, learn Mandarin. Okay? Just remember that. And two, don't allow their kids to be on their fucking phones or do all this AI shit. Like, we are the last generation. Millennials, ironically enough, and older Gen Z are the last fucking generation that benefited from living in a world that wasn't entirely dominated by AI. AI was supposed to come after we achieve peace and stability. Instead, it's being thrust upon us at the lowest point in modern history. Well, AI is here, so what do we do to help resolve the cognitive reduction? We do away with it. But the reason why AI is all over is not even necessarily, I mean, it's partially to train the models, right? Like, that obviously plays a big role. But the other reason why they're doing it, especially with generative AI, is not because they like hate non-binary queer artists, okay? One might think that that is the reason, considering the massive impact that it has on they, thems, and the artwork that they produce for commission. But the real reason why they do generative AI is because they want people to get excited about it so they can justify all of these massive amounts of fucking cash grabs that they're doing. They're fundraising like crazy. These things are literally burning more than they are capable of fundraising. But the reason why they're doing it is so that, you know, people are more excited about it. You generate hype and aura moments around it so you can justify getting billions and billions and billions of dollars. I think your negative bias towards AI is clouding your judgment on this. A ton of the scientists that work on this stuff are all saying the shit's getting weird and scary in terms of how quickly AI is developing. They do, however, echo the negative consequences and say the only way it won't be destructive to everyday life is if we move away from capitalism. I've said that. That's my argument. I don't have an issue with technological development, okay? The problem is what technological development does under capitalism. Technological developments cannot come at the cost of the existing labor force. It's supposed to alleviate the stress. It's supposed to alleviate the burden of the existing working class, not replace it. I've said that a million times. You know this. The problem, however, is that there's a lot of hype and aura moments, and it's actually unironically destroying what makes us human, which is, you know, making art and shit like that. It was Stavros that said it best, right? We thought robots would do the menial tasks and we would have time for ourselves to focus on art. We got a situation on the other hand where the robots are doing the art and we're still doing the menial tasks. Would it affect Chinese labor as well? Yes, and it already is. But I have more confidence in the Chinese state as far as like protecting its labor force and protecting its citizens than I do in the American one. That's the difference. Everything that the Chinese government has done so far has been incredibly responsive to the needs of its working class. It's constantly obsessed with improving the Chinese people's material conditions, right? So I don't believe that given their trajectory, given their development so far, that China is going to look at this and decide to like eviscerate its manufacturing capabilities. And they already are utilizing AI they already are utilizing AI a lot more than even we are in some ways. It's replacing so many jobs in IT. They're trying to extract value anywhere with it. It's not working as intended at the moment, but we're still losing our jobs. It's crazy. China's electric vehicle fleet is estimated to have saved 1 million barrels, 1 million plus barrels per day since the oil crisis began. Wow, look at this. A government that makes long-term plans in the interest of its people instead of wildly jumping from the whims of lobby to lobby. The oil lobby made Trump slash U.S. EV subsidies, and as a result of the war, the Israel lobby made him launch will bite much harder. Yep. We're still paying out a French company. This was reported in the New York Times yesterday. I forgot to get to it. We're paying out a French company $1 billion to not put wind farms off the East Coast. Isn't that fucking nuts? It's insane. I talked to my friends working in Shenzhen recently and found that Chinese companies adopt AI at the same pace as big tech in the U.S., if not faster. However, in contrary to the U.S. companies who use AI to displace the jobs, none of my friends in Chinese company felt insecure about their position. Instead, they're saying it's lifting the weights off their shoulder. So I'll say this much. China has a similar crisis of overproduction in their, in their graduates, right? There already is a real issue that Xi Jinping has also identified and said he seeks to address with respect to the youth unemployment. So this is already an issue in China. And if they were to play fast and loose with AI and focus on profit for some of these like valuable tech sector jobs, because I think China's play on AI is to, improve efficiency without actually like reducing the number of workers, because they have to have workers, right? So at most they'll I assume they'll reduce the burden without actually leading to massive job loss. So they already have a significant issue with youth unemployment, right? And they're very good at structuring their economy to address those needs, because they understand that this is, they have to be responsive. They have, at least in the last 15 of these 5-year plans, they've done, or 14 of these 5-year plans, they've done that. They've done just that. They say, this is our target, we're going to hit it, and then they do, right? And all of that has yielded tremendous Chinese prosperity. How do you reduce burden without cutting jobs? Companies won't keep redundancies around. That's where not operating within a capitalist system comes into play. You can punish companies for firing people instead of like reducing their work hours. That's it. And I don't know if they will. I don't know if they will do that. I mean, they could create jobs programs, right? Because the Chinese economy is not structured in the same way that the Western liberal capitalist economies are, right? There's an aspect of for-profit capitalism that's baked into the system itself, especially when it comes to light industries. However, the government makes these decisions ahead of time and does have a centrally planned focus on key sectors that they want to develop. And it's very obvious that part of that is AI, specifically because AI is a massive force for the American economy right now. And if they just offer a cheap competitive product or a free one, they can undercut the American singular resource, the singular commodity that is like the American economy is anchored around, and they can deliver a devastating blow, right? So I suspect that the Chinese AI initiatives are focused on undermining the American AI bubble and maybe seek to burst it. That's what I think. Just as the Chinese focus on renewables, solar panels, and then the EV focus wasn't just to like create jobs, but also to electrify their grid and electrify all the other countries' grids, to like move them away from their over-reliance on the petrodollar and specifically fossil fuels. And part of that also happens to be a good thing for the world, for not only for these countries to like develop some semblance of sovereignty, at least away from the American-backed petrol giants, the petro capitalists, but it also is good because obviously it ends up putting a dent in our carbon output, our carbon production, a significant dent if they were to fully focus on that. So in the absence of like America completely destroying the Gulf states their production, which China still relies on, obviously. And for the record, crippling the Chinese economy would mean crippling the global economy because it's the manufacturing hub for the entire planet with no alternative facilities that can keep up with the needs of the rest of the world. Even if their economic model is different, Chinese companies are extraordinarily focused on efficiency. Unless CCP changes their attitudes on welfare, I'm not sure what will happen with AI replacing jobs. Yeah, I mean, they are very anti-welfare.
Conflict in the Middle East, pushing up oil and petrol prices.
Yeah, also, it's not CCP Cloud, it's CPC, Communist Party of China.
He's glad his vehicle is battery-powered.
Now there is a war in Iran. The price of petrol is getting more and more expensive. Everywhere it's the same. It's better to have an electric truck.
China is one of the world's largest oil importers and relies heavily on supplies from the Gulf. Beijing has instructed refiners to limit exports of gasoline and diesel and raised price caps on petrol to conserve supply. But in China, millions of drivers no longer rely on petrol, insulating them from sudden price spikes. 1 in 4 new heavy vehicle sales and half of all new car sales are electric. Before the Iran war, China's demand for transport fuels was already peaking, with gasoline use plateauing and demand for diesel starting to decline as electric trucks took off. The country is still exposed to global oil markets, especially for the construction and manufacturing industries, as well as aviation and petrochemicals. Up to 50% of China's crude oil imports come from the Middle East, and most of it passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Chinese officials have
IEA did a report on it. Solar energy, the cheapest form of energy we've ever discovered. Solar panels are getting so cheap, it's like printing electricity in some places. Yeah, that's only because of the overproduction of the Chinese side, though. Everyone was like, why is China overproducing solar panels? Like, what's the goal here? That's the fucking goal. Their economy doesn't operate in the same way that ours does. This is what I'm constantly stressing. This is what a lot of Western analysts get wrong about China. Okay? It's a huge problem. Every single foreignpolicy.com article head genuinely cannot comprehend this because their brain is so wired in the dogmatic approach to capitalism that they think like, oh, China's just like sneakily capitalist. Like they legitimately do not. Every single Western analyst that looks at China looks at it from the perspective of capitalism. And that's why they get shit wrong all the fucking time, like literally nonstop. I'm nowhere near as educated on global markets or the economy in general. But the reason why I end up being right more often than wrong in the way that China operates is because, one, I listen to them. And when they say they're going to do something, I don't immediately think there's a sinister purpose for why they're saying this. That's like, that's just like to flex on the West, right? Because that's the overwhelming attitude. When they were building these fucking ghost cities, everyone was like, oh, why are they building ghost cities? Oh, to flex on us. Oh, to show economic activity. Oh, to make it seem like they actually have a lot of economic activity and a lot of like movements. It turns out those weren't fucking ghost cities. They were just building homes. They were mass producing housing units so they could develop those fucking areas and then move people in those areas. Okay? But if you have this like weird Western attitude, and we do this with the DPRK too in some ways. Today I learned China doesn't do welfare. Oh yeah, China doesn't do any welfare at all. Yeah. China is very anti-welfare. No welfare whatsoever. Every hand's got to work. I mean, they have a much, like in comparison to the Chinese economy, they have a much better attitude about like taking care of the no longer productive forces in the country. But what about the disabled? I don't know what the disability stuff looks like. But yeah, no, China has always been very, very anti-welfare. Always. China spent total of 3% of GDP on welfare. I don't even know what that number is. What do you mean no welfare? A longish post about China and energy security and buffers and strategic reserves. Energy security has been a feature in Chinese economic planning for decades, of course, but until the early 2010s, it was mostly framed in FYPs and other high-level documents as a question of adequacy, i.e., we must secure enough energy supplies to ensure no barriers or drags on industrialization. The early Xi era was the inflection point, in my view. Beginning around 2014, Chinese leaders began reframing energy security as a multidimensional strategic concept that included supply sufficiency, technological advancements, geopolitics, and energy transition risks. For example, check out Xi's June 2014 speech to the Central Financial Work Leading Group on China's energy security strategy, linked at the end. This was relatively fresh for China at the time way of discussing Chinese energy strategy. In the next FYP, 13th from 2016 to 2020, 5-year plan, energy security starts to be framed more as a system reliability issue, not just a standard industrial capacity issue. It starts talking about diversification of supply and climate and efficiency goals, and power market reforms is partially presented as an energy security tool. This may have also been politically expedient way to promote unpopular reforms, at least for the SOEs, but it was also useful and good. Everybody hitting TLDRs are unironically Grok brand. You have to stop. Electrifying your grid. Electrifying your energy grid with renewable energy offers, especially for China, absolute energy independence. Okay? And it's the same for other countries as well, because if China can present itself as a force of stability internationally, which it, does a pretty decent job, especially nowadays, then people are going to be more reliant on the Chinese monopoly on photovoltaics, on solar panels, on renewable energy investments. Because at the end of the day, that's an infinitely more reliable way to develop sovereignty, because guess what? The sun is everywhere. Okay? The sun is everywhere. Unless you're in the Nordic countries, I guess. But even then, you have the sun. You can't block out the sun. Best of luck in Cuba. I wish I could join the flotilla. What are you talking about? I'm back from Cuba. This is a big threat to America, because it's so funny. People are like, well, what about the clouds? This all got super explicit in the next 5-year plan from 2025 to 2021 to 2025. Chapter 53, Strengthening Safeguards for Our Nation's Economic Security, had a section 2 called Energy and Resource Security Strategy, which mentions of ensuring secure supply, oil and gas self-reliance, enhancing strategic reserves, using coal as the foundation, and framing power system reliability as a political priority. There's also that aspect too. Like they could just fucking turn on the coal power plants, as some of these countries are now doing. Once again, they're reactivating. I think it was Thailand that reactivated its old coal power plants because you have to keep your energy grid up, and if you can't get LNG, then you'll do coal. Also, solar is not the only source of renewable energy. True. This was, of course, further underlined by the power shortages in 2021, followed by the global energy crisis in 2022 with the Russia-Ukraine war. The China energy system that exists in the moment in 2026 is the product of this 14th 5-year plan. And 2022 didn't happen the way that it, and 2022 didn't happen the way they did. China probably would still be in decent shape today, but they did happen, and the lessons were learned, and the overall system is that much more robust for it. And then when we have the newest, I keep wanting to say For You page, 5-year plan, the 15th one from 2026 to 2030, which we are still analyzing and awaiting more details on, but within which I'd say energy security continues to be a defining theme of the energy strategy sections. The broad story I'm reading now from the 15th For You page is electricity is the primary instrument of energy security, with renewables, nuclear, storage, grids, and electrification seen as tools to offset imports, absorb shocks, and preserve industrial competitiveness. Coal is explicitly retained as the strategic energy reserve and flexibility source of choice, not gas or petroleum. Energy security, industrial policy, and geopolitical risk management are fully merged into one unified political and economic paradigm. So yeah, China didn't just stumble into a position of resilience for the current Iran war and Hormuz energy shock. It's been building up to it and sharing its strategy quite publicly, mind you, for the last 12 plus years, essentially all of Xi's tenure. If you want to fucking grok TLDR, China's 5-year plans have hyper-focused on energy independence through electrification of its grids. Okay? And not only are they doing this for themselves, they're basically revealing it in broad daylight to anyone else that will pay attention to it. Don't forget that PV and solar was once a literal German monopoly that got killed by conservatives in 2014 to keep us dependent on the petrodollar. Early 2000s Green Party economic strategy was kind of like China with long-term planning to create new markets, but conservatives willingly killed 150,000 jobs to stop it. There were numerous points including the Green New Deal, where America could also have turned around its manufacturing lull. But of course, our oil behemoth was so overwhelmingly powerful because in China, the government controls the forces of capital, the flows of capital specifically. In the United States of America, capital controls the government. So if you actually allow capital to control the government, you say, fuck Green New Deal. You have a sophisticated network of propaganda that will be disseminated to the supposedly democratic system, democracy in theory, not in action, and people will develop negative opinions about it. Of course, no real democracy actually exists when it comes to the way that the government designs its foreign policy, the way the government even designs its own domestic policy that is at odds with the interests of capital and the interests of profit sectors, profit centers, specifically in the form of healthcare, for example. We can't destroy the healthcare system that is completely fucking privatized, because if we were to do that, then, our GDP would take a hit. These are major GDP providers. The line goes up. That's precisely the reason why we have such bloat in every sector. Okay? They could have done the same thing China did and still done warmongering just from a better position. Just say, oh, well, I don't care about the straight, flip the green switch. No, America doesn't care about the straight regardless. America and Americans in power will currently say, we don't give a fuck about the straight. And Trump says it all the time, as a matter of fact. It's not wrong. It's true. America is an exporter. So the straight being closed off unironically suits the short-term purpose and short-term goals of our energy sector, right? The reason why the straight is important is because it destroys the global economy, the Asian market specifically, where, a lot of our products are being manufactured both in China and India and Vietnam and elsewhere. So technically, it's not as impactful for the American energy markets at all, even though obviously it's entirely dependent on whether or not the losses that the American energy providers are taking in the Gulf, because obviously these are their investments that are getting blown up, can be offset by, the price of the fucking barrel skyrocketing. Especially when there's a new, untapped, massive trove, the largest known natural reserves of heavy crude on the planet in Venezuela. One doesn't work without the other. This is what I've been thinking about for the last month or so, the last 25 days. I've brought it up periodically. I do think that, this is my only, this bullshit undermines the petrodollar, which is where the bulk of wealth and power is based. The closing of the Strait absolutely ruins America because the U.S. economy is directly tied to oil. Yes. But here's what I said. Prior to the Iran war, Venezuelan crude refined and exported by the U.S. would destroy the domestic markets since the price would dip far below $60. If the Gulf productive capabilities are diminished, the U.S. could become one of the few major exporters and command great leverage over China's export controls. This seems like the only not insane long-term goal. Not sure it's even remotely feasible or achievable. So while American oil giants that have tremendous investment in Saudi Aramco and tremendous investments in the Gulf are actually taking a beating right now because their investments are blowing up or potentially slated to blow up, okay, if they light the region on fire, will they be able to offset that with their new investments and the new refinements that they can engage in Venezuela with far greater control? Because at the end of the day, Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states are still sovereign to a certain degree. They're vassalized, but they're nowhere near as vassalized as Venezuela will be.
Called for a ceasefire and a return to diplomacy, while trying to leverage Beijing's strong ties to Iran to secure safe passage for its tankers through the Strait.
Gas prices go up in America since oil prices based on international market value regardless of U.S. surplus. Only ones that benefit are the producers because they can sell for more. That doesn't need to be the case, obviously. The American government could, impose price controls. They just won't do that because that's not what the American government does, right? And also, this second part that you just mentioned, the only ones that benefit are the producers because they can sell for more. Yeah, that is what the American government does. The American government doesn't operate at your behest. The American government doesn't operate for your benefit. I mean, this is kind of the whole point of why I criticize capitalism. Okay? They don't care about your needs. I mean, at most, it's a pressure that they will seek to alleviate, right? Because if the gas prices at the pump are so high, because it's tied to the global energy prices, if the gas prices at the pump are so unimaginably high, then yes, inflation crisis takes place. Cost of goods goes up. Americans are frustrated. They can't buy things, right? And inevitably, the economy falls apart and they revolt, right? So there is that pressure that they have to pay attention to. But if their goal is to, outside of that, I mean, they make this calculation on how much dick you can eat, basically. How much dick you can eat while the only people that I care about are capital owners, specifically in the oil and gas industry, the American oil and gas industry, and what their profit margins look like. It's possible that Venezuela's oil reserves are overstated as well. The numbers have all come from PDVSA itself, and people have been skeptical for a while now. I mean, I'm sure they have a better understanding of that. The American government does. These are the types of things you can't fuck around with. We're talking about money. If you want to continue with the China topic, Bloomberg covered China's super grid. What the fuck? Can I ask, why did you start saying about the Venezuela oil idea for short-term gain recently in the past 2 weeks and not instantly in the Venezuela kidnapping? I did. I actually criticized the Economist and all of the other analysts that were like, oh, we don't even benefit from Venezuela's massive natural reserves because if we were overproducing oil, it would destroy the American small business frackers and it would destroy the Texas economy. It would destroy the American oil and gas industry because it would be too cheap. Oh, that's why you timestamped it. Okay, got it.
China watchers.
If you recall, I told you that that's still bullshit. No one is ever going to say no to more natural reserves. And now we're seeing kind of why.
That we have talked about, China's efforts to build out its energy sources is actually getting fresh momentum from this conflict in the Middle East. And Beijing is one of the largest global investors in power grids. And China was the fastest growing LNG market before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2020 triggered a surge in spot prices.
But Bloomberg Opinion columnist David Fickling says there's a lesson to be learned in Beijing's dash for gas. He joins us now, together with our reporter Dan Murtaugh, to talk us through this complex issue right now. David, let me start with you. Underscore the premise here for us.
Yeah, I think this is looking at I was looking at a very specific case, really, which is, some of the things that have caused these blue skies around Beijing in recent years. You remember, 10 years ago, there was a lot of air pollution in northern China, especially in winter. One of the things that's really changed that is that since about 2017, there's been a lot of push for people in rural areas to stop burning coal in domestic furnaces to warm themselves in winter. And that's pushed people in several directions. One has been to electric heaters and some to heat pumps, but a lot of them have also been pushed to gas boilers. And that's actually caused real problems just in this past winter. We saw quite a lot of reports in January with some of these rural families. They were initially subsidised to install gas boilers. They were subsidised for the price of the gas, and those subsidies have gradually been removed because, of course, a lot of local governments in China, are facing a lot of fiscal pressure, and that's left, some of these quite shocking reports out of, China of 2026, where you've got poor rural families who can't afford to heat their houses, who are, people who are having to sort of stand outside in the midday sun to get a little bit of warmth, and are just having to rug up inside with extra layers of clothing. Now, I think that was a real mistake because the costs of heat pumps, essentially, reverse cycle air conditioners, are not that much greater for inland of these areas, about 20%. And really, a lot of people talk about gas as this sort of bridge to electrification. I think we saw in that Hebei winter gas crisis, some of the problems for that. And of course, we're seeing spilling out of the crisis in the Middle East, some of the problems for that much more broadly in the world.
Yeah, David, you certainly have highlighted some of the challenges in this whole transition. Dan, maybe you can step in and talk about how, what is being done now, right? This push to expand China's energy infrastructure and when it comes to capacity in the power grid, what efforts are being done now?
Yeah, David's exactly right. Like, I think China has sort of realized that it was too reliant. It requires about 50% of its gas coming from overseas markets, about 70% of its oil coming from overseas markets. So it's really exposed to any gyrations in global prices. And now it looks at electricity, which is mostly coming from domestic sources: coal, nuclear, wind, solar, hydropower, all of which are produced in China. So it has a lot more control over the prices and supply there. And so it's been shifting its economy over the last couple of decades toward more and more electricity. Mostly you see that in EVs, but you can see it out in the countryside with these huge.
What level of damage to America would it take for you to consider moving to China? I mean, I like China, but I like China, but it's not about the level of damage that America could withstand. It's more so about like me going straight up to prison, That's how the fuck do you like China, dude? I don't know, because I'm agnostic and I don't maintain like idiotic childlike attitudes about like nation states in the way that you do. Like I've been pretty open about this, where like I have my loyalty to the people, okay? Everywhere around the world. Yeah, man, but do you know the history of China? I'm willing to bet a lot better than you do, my friend. The one who once spoke of regime change and the fragmentation of Iran now hopes that someone in Iran will engage in dialogue with him, though this, too, is merely an attempt at deception. Like they killed babies to stop overpopulation. Name every Chinese, period. You don't want to live in China because they didn't allow you to hug panda? That's true. That was a big blow to my confidence in China. Are you pro or anti-Israel Epstein? Pro-Israel Epstein, my goat. The good Israel Epstein, member of the CPC. Israel's Channel 12 has now leaked what it claims is a U.S. 15-point document to end the war with Iran. Okay? We're getting back to situation monitoring. The reported mechanism is a 1-month ceasefire during which there will be negotiations over these terms. That alone is likely a non-starter for Tehran. Iran has been clear that it does not want another temporary pause that allows the U.S. and Israel to rearm. Look at the details in a second. Rebuild and return to the fight, as has already happened before. Are you averse to Europe because of Islamophobia? Buddy, if I'm moving away from America, why would I go to a vassal, an American vassal? If I'm escaping America in the unlikely scenario that I'm like going to fucking prison or something, like where fascism is completely taken over and it's like, it's accelerating. Why the fuck would I go to the country that's like a fleshlight for the United States of America? We fuck Europe. Okay? Yeah, let me go flee to a vassal so I can get destroyed. Same with Australia. Iran has been clear that it does not want another temporary pause that allows the U.S. and Israel to rearm, rebuild, and return to the fight. As has already happened before, it is seeking a permanent settlement that allows it come out of economic isolation. Then there are the terms themselves. Much of this reads like a familiar maximalist wish list. No enrichment on Iranian soil, dismantling core nuclear infrastructure, abandoning regional alliance network. In other words, demands that Iran has consistently rejected before the war, and likely even more so now, given the leverage it believes it has gained. At the same time, there is a notable U.S. offer, the reported offer of full sanctions relief, including the removal of snapback threats. That suggests Washington may be signaling openness to a broader strategic trade-off. Oh my God. So there may be an outline of something workable here. But as an opening bid, much of this still looks fundamentally misaligned with what Iran would accept, and therefore unlikely to get serious traction in Tehran without significant revision. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, if this isn't simply holding space and time as America, draws up what remains of its sources what remains of its forces and continues to build up military troop presence so they can try and idiotically invade Iranian soil with no real logistical plan to do so, mind you. This is literally a bigger relief for the Iranian economy than what the Obama deal could have ever accomplished. This would mean that we treat Iran as a sovereign nation state, as an equal partner in the global oil trade. I mean, that's crazy. Biggest fell-off award for the anti-IR diaspora. Islamic Republic stays in place, led by the RGC, and the sanctions are taken away, but they'll still love Trump law. I mean, this is unironically something that is necessary, and Iran sacrificed a great deal to accomplish this. But they accomplished it through war, a war that they did not choose to have, but a war that they seemingly will end. I just don't think that Israel would ever allow this to happen. You know? Removal of all sanctions on Iran, U.S. assistance in advancing and developing a civilian nuclear project, energy generation, removal of the threat of sanctions being reimposed. Iran's nuclear program is frozen under a defined framework, enriched uranium to remain, but under supervision and agreed limits. Missile program to be addressed at a later stage with limits. See, like this is, oh my God, they're doing the, oh my God, this is literally, this is a white flag, dude. You know how Iran has the red flag, the death flag that they used to wave? And then they would do like a very restrained retaliatory strike that they agreed to ahead of time. This is literally Zelensky saying we'll have a referendum on Crimea 15 years down the line. Oh my fucking God. Use of nuclear programs restricted to civilian defensive purposes only. Development of existing nuclear capabilities halted. No further expansion of enrichment capabilities. No production of weapons-grade nuclear material on Iranian soil. All enriched material to be handed over to the International Atomic Energy Agency within an agreed timeline. Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow to be taken out of use, destroyed. International monitoring and verification mechanisms enforced. Gradual implementation tied to compliance. Additional regional security understandings between the parties. Dude, are you implying Trump broke something and is going to put back together in a worse way and will inevitably say, look, I solved another war? From an American chauvinist perspective, yes. But from a global perspective, this is a tremendous thing. Okay? I've been very clear on this. I have said this over and over again. Okay? Sanctions relief was a must. How close to JCPOA is this? This is literally worse than the JCPOA for American from the, I mean, if this happens at all, and if this isn't just like a silly little fake out, and Israel will never allow this to happen regardless, but this is literally worse than the JCPOA. This is, from the American perspective, JCPOA did not offer this much. I guess one of the major differences would be, one of the major differences here would be this is a better deal than what Iran was offered pre-war, which did not include sanctions relief. The Iranians are still going to say no. They would accept dismantling of their nuclear program for sanctions relief, but not an end to support the proxies or the missiles program, which is precisely the reason why even the missiles program, for the record, that was a key part of this, is not even being discussed now. They're just saying we'll do a framework for a deal in the future. Like, if we were to take this sincerely, okay, if we were to look at this as like a sincere, if this was like America genuinely saying, here, let's do this, please. This is nothing short of America coming on its hands and knees. Donald Trump literally getting on his hands and knees and begging Iran. Begging Iran.
Damn, this guy's good.